Chapter 141. Black-Hearted Song Xiaoqin. Chapter 141. Black-Hearted Song Xiaoqin. Yiling felt a fit of comfort for no reason after hearing Song Xiaoqin's words. Although she was of the Yi family and looked like a princess, only she knew the hardship within. She needed to put on a happy face when she went home and needed to ridicule Yi Zifeng. That wasn't all. She even needed to secretly use the money she saved and stole to ask Gu Luo for help. Today, it was her first time seeing her opponent act low in front of her. She even forgot the disgust when Yi Mo killed. "You want me to let you go?" Yi Mo looked at Song Xiaoqin and blandly said, "Yes, as long as you are willing to have mercy, I will pay you back 10 times. Hearing Yi Mo's tone soften, Song Xiaoqin said hurriedly, "He's called Gu Luo? This name is really strange and I detest this guy." Yi Mo looked once at Gu Luo. Hearing Yi Mo's words, Song Xiaoqin's eyes suddenly turned cold and pulled out a small 3-edged prick from somewhere and just stabbed it onto Gu Luo's back without hesitation. When the prick was fully submerged, Gu Luo then turned around and looked at Song Xiaoqin in disbelief. He pointed with his finger wanting to say something, but eventually, he couldn't. He just looked with fury as he fell to the ground. Perhaps he couldn't understand why he would die in Song Xiaoqin's hands after serving him for so long. Yi Mo thought that this Song Xiaoqin was a cruel character. He actually knew where to pierce so that one would die the quickest. It definitely wasn't his first time doing this. Yiling looked at Gu Luo fall to the ground with massive amount of blood emerging from his back like a spring, and she finally couldn't take it as she fainted in Yi Mo's arms. Young Master Qin, Gu Luo's 2 henchmen looked at Song Xiaoqin and couldn't believe that he would kill his most trusted man. They didn't know if they should attack Song Xiaoqin or still be on the same team with him. Just when the two were still hesitating, Song Xiaoqin already charged over and killed another. The remaining one reacted, and when Song Xiaoqin stabbed towards him, he actually pulled out a knife and stabbed it into Song Xiaoqin's left shoulder. Although Song Xiaoqin was injured, it wasn't lethal. Plus, the damage of the knife was far from that of the prick. The man holding the knife was killed, but Song Xiaoqin could still stand up and looked worriedly at Yi Mo. Yi Mo looked coldly at Song Xiaoqin. He killed without any moral burden, and he was killing his trusted men. His actions were swift without any hesitation. It could be seen that not only was he cruel, but also had some power. When he was talking to him before, he still seemed shaky, but Yi Mo would never believe him. Song Xiaoqin was obviously acting, but he acted too much. Regardless whether he was acting or not, Yi Mo wouldn't let this guy go. "Brother Yi, I've already done as you told and killed these few people you don't like." Then Song Xiaoqin took out a bag from his pocket and said, "This is the Yi family's feng shui Dragon Balls. I only told Yiling to get 2. Song Xiaoqin walked to a chair with pale face and put the bag on the chair. Although his shoulder was bleeding heavily, but he didn't seem to notice it. Instead, he opened the bag and said, "I'll show it to you." Yi Mo just stared coldly at Song Xiaoqin. He was very smart and cunning, but Yi Mo had already seen the evil in his eyes with his spirit sense. Even if he didn't, he knew that Song Xiaoqin's actions were abnormal. His hand was already so heavily injured, but he didn't stop the bleeding and instead was going to open up the bag. If it really was the Dragon Balls inside, he could have just given it to him. Thinking about this, Yi Mo scanned the bag with his spirit sense. At this moment, however, Song Xiaoqin pulled out a gun from the bag with unimaginable speed. At the same time, his gun was already pointed at Yi Mo. This was all done in less than 2 seconds. Song Xiaoqin had a lot of faith in his gun prowess and his speed was very fast. The gun was pointed at Yi Mo's head. He didn't think Yi Mo could still live after getting shot in the head. Even if Yi Mo was a disciple of ancient martial arts, he wouldn't be able to dodge this. Thinking that he was about to kill Yi Mo, Song Xiaoqin was excited. He could almost already see the leader of the Song families praise him, and that the 1st and the 3rd generation title would be his. But in the spur of a moment, Song Xiaoqin didn't have this thought anymore. He just looked at Yi Mo, who stared at him with cold eyes as though a monkey being stupid. At the tip between his fingers was a bullet. Yi Mo noticed Song Xiaoqin's actions as soon as he took the gun out of the bag. The moment Song Xiaoqin fired, Yi Mo used his spirit chi to form a force field, and the bullet was slowed down. That way, Yi Mo caught the bullet easily. Even if he fired when Yi Mo wasn't ready, although Yi Mo wouldn't be able to catch the bullet, he would still be able to dodge it. Song Xiaoqin seemed like he saw a ghost and made a sound after a long while. You can catch a bullet, you. He was dumbfounded. This was the first time he met someone who could catch bullet. No one would believe it. Seeing Song Xiaoqin's worried look, Yi Mo sneered. Don't worry, I won't kill you now. Then, the bullet in his hand dropped to the floor in a clank. Song Xiaoqin's heart skipped. Although he was still on the edge, he gradually calmed down after hearing Yi Mo's words. Of course, Yi Mo wouldn't kill Song Xiaoqin now. Although he could and knew the Song family wouldn't do anything to him, he was just scared that if the Song family was infuriated and fought with him, then Dongfang Shi's prediction would quite possibly come true. If Yi Mo and the Song family fought, no matter how he beat up the Song family, he would only have one choice, and that was to leave the country. In Yi Mo's perspective, even if he was to fight the Song family, he couldn't do it overtly. He could make them feel scared, but he couldn't force them into a corner. He could kill Gu Luo and his henchmen, but he couldn't kill Song Xiaoqin now. He still needed to do the afterwork for the business in the room. Yi Mo believed that Song Xiaoqin didn't dare to make it known, and neither did the Song family. Plus, this was Beijing, not the borderlands. It was fine to kill at the borderlands, but not in Beijing. Now that so many died in the room, and despite most of them were killed by Song Xiaoqin, someone needed to take care of the aftermath. It was better to leave Song Xiaoqin to do that. Yi Mo wasn't an idiot. He had arrived at Beijing for more than a day and still didn't receive any attacks or threats. That meant the Song family was holding themselves back. Perhaps what happened in Sinai had already reached the Song family. Yi Mo would definitely not believe that the Song family didn't know he arrived at Beijing, because when he came, he just waltzed right in. Yi Mo patted his hand and took out the 2 Dragon Balls and looked. He couldn't help but to shake his head. It was just 2 normal magic artifacts with a sliver of spirit chi. Song Xiaoqin looked at Yi Mo and didn't dare to move. He now understood why the leader ordered not to touch Yi Mo. He was too scary. No wonder he could kill Hu Qiu. Yi Mo looked at Song Xiaoqin and patted his shoulder. Song Xiaoqin felt as though a big metal hammer whacked his heart a few times. That pressure made him faint. After burning away the bodies in the room, Song Xiaoqin woke up again and found that all the bodies had disappeared. There was just some blood stains and burnt smell. He didn't know how long he was out for, but he knew it wasn't long. Yi Mo had dealt with the bodies in such a short time, and Song Xiaoqin suddenly felt his body was cold. This was why Yi Mo couldn't be touched. Do you know why I didn't kill you? Yi Mo looked at Song Xiaoqin, who had a spookily pale face, and said. Song Xiaoqin subconsciously shook his head. Yi Mo smiled. Take care of this place, and perhaps after a few days, you would understand why I didn't kill you. Oh, and tell your leader this. Don't piss me off. Piss me off and I'll make the Song family disappear in one night. Then, Yi Mo carried the still unconscious Yi Ling and actually jumped out of the window. Song Xiaoqin looked at Yi Mo disappear and now realized his life was saved. He looked at Yi Mo jump to the window and was shocked once again. This was 4th story. But he soon knew that it was time to clean up. Thinking about this, Song Xiaoqin didn't even have time to dress his wound and just called the family straight away. Just when Yi Mo didn't know where to take Yi Ling woke up. She saw Yi Mo carrying her and made a small struggle. Yi Mo put her down. Yi Ling stared at Yi Mo for a while before remembered what happened before. Her face was full of worry. Yi Mo murdered someone, and she saw it with her own eyes. What to do? Yi Ling didn't even get time to ask how Yi Mo came to Beijing and just looked at him and said worriedly, Hurry up and run now. You killed the Song family's man. They won't let you go. Go now. Chapter 142, Brother and Sister. Chapter 142. Brother and Sister. Yi Mo saw that Yi Ling wanted him to run and felt touched. Although the things Yi Ling did was very naive, her intent was to save Yi Mo and Yi Zifeng. From that perspective, she did suffer many hardships. Yi Mo knew that Yi Ling didn't like him, but why did she still do so much for him? Yi Mo suddenly raised his hand, touched Yi Ling's hair and sighed. Stupid, if I leave now, you would be dead. Don't worry. Since I can kill Song Xiaowen and still have nothing happen, nothing will happen now. Plus, I didn't kill Song Xiaoqin. Yi Ling felt weird after being touched by Yi Mo. A faint sense of being cared for circulated her heart. She had never been cared for. Even her brother Yi Zifeng always complained that she was too immature. But now, she had this feeling. Her fatigued heart seemed to have something to depend on. She suddenly wanted to lay in Yimo's arms and call him big brother, but at the same time, she felt distant with the Yimo in front of her compared to the original Yimo. The two sunk into silence, but Yiling soon reacted. She thought about Yimo's safety and hurried. You didn't kill Song Xiaoqin? Then if he calls the cops on you, where will you go? Even if he doesn't call the cops, the Song family knows you're in Beijing. You still wouldn't be able to escape. What shall we do? Yimo smiled. Don't worry, the Song family doesn't dare to look for me now. Nothing will happen tomorrow. Yimo saw things clearly. Since he came to Beijing and the Song family didn't look for him, then they wouldn't look for him now. Even if they were to, it would be after they've completely investigated the situation. If Song Jiaming knew he could come back safely from the Nanqing's HQ and still look for trouble with him without any reason, then the Song family wouldn't be still alive today. Yiling looked at Yimo in a daze. She didn't know why Yimo said the Song family didn't dare to look for him. She also knew that Yimo wasn't the same as before. Although Yimo didn't kill Song Xiaoqin, he still left a time bomb on him. Song Xiaoqin didn't have long to live. Yimo thought that after he left Beijing, the Song family wouldn't be able to do anything to him, but they could attack Yiling and Yi Zifeng. Thinking about this, Yimo felt like he had a headache. Now, he didn't dare to overtly eradicate the Song family. Since he couldn't, he needed to worry about this. Seeing that Yimo was in thought, Yiling said, "Where would you stay tonight?" Yiling wanted to call him brother but couldn't. The original Yimo had too much of a bad impression in her mind. Yimo came back from his thought and decided he would think about it later. Now that Yiling asked, he said, "I have a place to live. What about you? I'll send you back." "I'm living at campus." Yiling wanted to ask how Yimo had been, but didn't know where to start. Plus, she saw the ordinary clothes on him and knew he wasn't living a wealthy life. Perhaps he was even living a desolate life. She was scared that if she asked, Yimo would be sad. She didn't know where he got his powers from, but eventually, she couldn't resist and asked. Yimo didn't know where to start, so he simply described his life and didn't mention him going to the desert and being hunted. These things were too distant with Yiling's life. He didn't want Yiling to be worried. From Yiling, Yimo heard that Yi Zifeng had been very busy recently, but Yiling didn't know why. Yi Zifeng barely discussed such things with Yiling. The two walked as they talked and came back to Hua Uni. At the door, Yimo remembered Zhuo Yangqing. He looked around and Zhuo Yangqing was long gone. "Go back to the dorms first. I'm going. Tomorrow, find Zifeng. We need to talk." Yimo sent Yiling to the door. He wanted to go scout at the Song family. If the Song family decided to shatter the glass and fight him, he needs to be prepared. "Come inside and have a seat." Seeing Yimo was going, Yiling couldn't resist to say. She still had a lot of things she wanted to talk about. Plus, Yimo changed too much that made her feel dependent on him. At the moment, she actually didn't want him to leave. Yimo hesitated and saw the males are forbidden sign. Although he also went to uni at Ninghai, he had never been to the female dorms. Now that the weather was getting warmer, it didn't seem appropriate to go into the female dorms. Yiling saw Yimo's gaze and knew he was worrying he couldn't go in, so she hurried to say, "It's okay. The Hema at the door is very nice to me. She'll definitely let you in. Plus, all of the girls in my dorm aren't here tonight. They are going to a social with Sure Uni." Originally, Yimo didn't worry about going in. He had too many ways to, but he was just worried it would affect others. Now that Yiling said this, he wanted to go in and see too. He just wanted to see if he could set up a simple defense formation there. And he wanted to talk to Yiling. If she didn't want to stay in Beijing, she could go to Luotsang. It was just as Yiling said. The Ani at the door just looked once at Yimo and didn't stop him from going in. Yiling's dorm was closed and it was pitch black. Yiling was right. The girls weren't back. Yimo habitually scanned his spirit sense out and was immediately shocked. There were still 3 people inside the dorm. Just when Yimo wanted to tell Yiling that, Yiling had opened the door and said, "Come in, there's no one inside." Before Yiling finished speaking, the light was opened, scaring Yiling. In the middle of the table was a big cake. The 3 girls saw Yiling come in and all yelled, "Happy birthday, Ling." However, The three soon saw Yimo behind her and yelled in surprise. One of the girl who just wore shorts quickly took a pair of pants and put them on. You guys! Yiling was shocked at the scene in front of her. One of the taller-looking girl reacted and said, Lingzi, didn't think you would be celebrating your birthday with your boyfriend. We still wanted to give you a surprise. Hee, hurry up and introduce him. He's really handsome. Yiling just remembered that today was her birthday. She was so busy that she forgot. She couldn't help but feel grateful to her dorm mates for preparing this for her. She immediately said, Xiaodan, Lulu, Tianhe, thank you guys so much. You remembered my birthday? Eat the cake later. Lulu is right. Introduce your boyfriend. We can't wait. This is the first time you brought your boyfriend back. That short-haired girl also said. You guys are mistaken. This isn't my boyfriend. Yiling waved her hand. Pfft. You brought him back and you even said, no one's here, you can come in. Did you think we didn't hear it? Do you think we're third-wheeling? Don't worry. After you introduce, we can give you guys some space. Hima just called to say you're back, but she never said you brought a boyfriend, the short-haired girl said. Yimo touched his nose awkwardly. He didn't think Yiling's classmates were all back, and today was Yiling's birthday. It seemed he couldn't tell her about going to Luotsong today. And Yiling's friends were all wearing casual clothes. It wasn't convenient for him to stay here. Yimo could only say, how about I go first? We can talk tomorrow. Yiling also knew that Yimo probably had some things to discuss with her, but now he couldn't say it. She could only nod her head. Huh, why are you leaving? You just came in. Today is Yiling's birthday. You're not even helping her celebrate it. At least leave after eating the cake or introduce yourself. And you still need to invite us to dinner tomorrow. That girl wearing shorts finally dropped the awkwardness and said. Dan was seen in her undies. Of course she needed someone to compensate her with food now. Haha, that short-haired girl said immediately. Yimo felt more awkward. He didn't even remember Yiling's birthday as her brother, while Yiling's dorm mates remembered it. He thought about Su Jingwen's birthday. They both came from big families. Why was Yiling's birthday so different to Su Jingwen's? The Yi family was much bigger than the Su family. Thinking about this, Yimo felt bitter. Perhaps Yiling really had been enduring a lot of hardship these years. Seeing Yimo stand silently at the door, Yiling thought Yimo was thinking about her life and said, Brother, I don't care that much about my birthday. As long as you and Zifeng is fine, everything is good. Go back first. I'll come look for you tomorrow. Yiling hugged Yimo after. It was the first time she called Yimo brother, but she didn't feel it to be weird at all. Perhaps she would no longer have to live that worrying life. At least, Yimo was so much better than she had thought. She felt Yimo's hug was very firm and warm, giving her a sense of security from the bottom of her heart. Chapter 143. Helpless Song Chiming. Chapter 143. Helpless Song Chiming. That brother made Yimo freeze mentally. Ever since coming to this world, it was destined that he would be lonely. But today, someone called him brother. This indescribable feeling flowed through Yimo's heart that made him decide to protect Yiling for her life. Not for anything else, but just for that brother. Ayo, so emotional. Lingzi, you really make people cringe. But your boyfriend is quite handsome. I also want to hug your brother. Don't be stingy, the short-haired girl said. Of course she was joking. She didn't really mean to go hug Yimo. Yiling really enjoyed Yimo's hug, and hearing what the short-haired girl said, she suddenly smiled and pulled the short-haired girl's hand and dragged her into Yimo's arms. She moved aside. Okay, Tianhe, you can hug for however long you want. I won't be jealous at all. But don't let go. Tianhe was pulled into Yimo's arms. Yimo wanted to push her away, but was scared he would hurt her feelings. Meanwhile, Tianhe thought it was just a hug, so she wrapped her arms around Yimo's waist. Yimo didn't feel anything when he was hugged by Yiling, but he didn't expect Tianhe to hug him with such force. He immediately felt two balls of softness in front of her chest and that faint aroma of a girl. His blood speed up, and he had a biological reaction. His crotch immediately rammed against Tianhe's stomach. He was originally planning to eat a piece of cake, but he hurriedly said, I'm going. Then, he rushed out of the dorms and disappeared. What's wrong, Tianhe? Why did you scare Ling's boyfriend away? Is it because your chest is too powerful? When Yimo left, The two other girls came up and teased her. Tianhe's face was shot red. Although she was acting tough, it was just in her words. However, when the other two girls asked, she recovered and smiled. Ling, your boyfriend's thing is so big. I could feel it. What a man. But I still quite like his hug. He smells very nice. What? You really felt that? It's really big? To their surprise, Yiling asked Tianhe with a face full of joy. Tianhe was grabbed by Yiling, but this was nothing. When Yiling asked that question, the dorm mates were completely shocked. Hey, Lingzi, are you dumb? How can you not know your boyfriend's thing? Why are you asking me? But your boyfriend is really excellent. Sigh, I don't know where you found him. Why don't I have that kind of luck? Tianhe also had a boyfriend but was never like Emo, who could give her a refreshing and calm sense during hugs. Okay, we really admire you too. Next time when Lingzi's boyfriend comes, I also want to hug him, the taller girl said. And me, Dan hurried to say. Tianhe threw up the finger forward / you two cougars, but Lingzi, even if it's really big, you don't need to be so happy. You'll be taking in quite a load. He started to contemplate, and after a while, he looked at Song Chikan and said, Chikan, what do you think? Song Chikan frowned and said, according to Yemo's habits and what Xiaoqin reported, if Yemo said that, it means he can really do it. My opinion is to wait for the result of the Sina investigation. After we know Yemo's limits, then we can make a move. Plus, if we are to move, we can't do it alone. We need to invite some people. Of course, we must also notify Hu Qiu's master. Song Qiming nodded. This is what I think too. Okay, that's it for today. When the investigation comes out, we'll have another meeting. But before this, if anyone dares to look for trouble with Yemo or someone related to him, I won't let him go. Dismissed. Yemo left Tsinghua University and prepared to look for a place to stay when his phone rang. It was Li Hu. He was very happy when he knew that Yemo came to Beijing. He just said he was busy in the day and his phone was shut. Yemo just set a location when his phone shut down. He hadn't charged this phone, and it just answered 2 phone calls before running out of battery. Now, Yemo still hadn't ate yet. Originally, Zhuiyangqing wanted to invite him to dinner, but due to Qing Sun's things, Zhuiyangqing didn't have the time to redeem it. So Yemo went to look for Yilingli, who came very quickly and drove a normal jeep. As soon as he got off, he grabbed Yemo's hands excitedly. Brother Yi, if it wasn't for you last time, we would have probably died, much less retrieved the item. I've been waiting for days, and you're finally here. Let's go. You should sleep at my place tonight. You must come to my base with me tomorrow. Those brats keep saying I'm bragging. You need to help me teach them a lesson. Li Hu was straightforward and very social, and he already saw Yemo as his friend. Yemo could tell that this guy had been bragging about him in front of others, but they couldn't find him, so his words were ignored. Yemo smiled. He didn't have the time to help Li Hu show off. He just wanted to get his money and solve the problems here so he could go back to cultivate. The more people he got into conflict with, the more he felt his power was insignificant. From Langji's mouth, Yemo heard that Xian Daoist in Metal River was much stronger than Wuchang. Moreover, it was said that he was about to break through. If things were really as Langji said, then his powers would only seem overwhelming to normal people, but for the real strong people out there, he was still missing a bit. Thinking about this, how could Yemo have the mood to show off in front of normal soldiers? Chapter 144, Big Bluff. Chapter 144, Big Bluff. Li Hu stayed at the intense training quarters at Beijing. That's not what Yemo expected. The defense here was serious, and there were surveillance equipment everywhere. If Li Hu didn't take him in, it would really make him sweat to come in. Plus, Yemo didn't know if his invisibility could evade the top-grade military cameras. And Li Hu was indeed a good friend. He didn't even investigate who Yemo was before bringing him in. He knew the rules, but he still did so, meaning that he considered Yemo a true friend. Li Hu got some food and ate as they chatted together. Yemo also knew this place was to train all sorts of special ops. This period, it was his turn. He was the captain of the Flying Fox squad. Li Hu wasn't called Li Hu before, but after he joined Flying Fox, he changed his name. One could tell that he had deep feelings for this squad just from his name. Then Flying Fox is the country's top special ops? Yimo curiously asked. If that really was the case, then Yimo would be disappointed. Although he hadn't seen Li Hu in action, but he was at most the same level as when Dong, or even worse. Since he was the captain, it meant that he was the strongest in Flying Fox. If even the strongest was at this standard, then the squad wasn't going to be very strong. Li Hu didn't know Yimo's power. In his eyes, Yimo was mysterious other than being straightforward. He went in and out of the desert with ease, so he knew Yimo was much stronger than him. Now that Yimo asked, Li Hu shook his head. Our squad is a far cry from the best. However, the members of Flying Fox are pretty excellent. You have seen our missions. In harsher words, we're police. In other words, we deal with the more serious criminals. Then, Li Hu took out a card and gave it to Yimo. This is the money. It's supposed to be $500,000, but because the thing was perfectly fine and no men were lost, my boss gave an extra $100,000. Altogether, it's $600,000. The password is all zero. Of course, I know that this is just as Feng Tian said, less than 10% of its actual worth. So ye brother, I owe you. Yimo took the card and smiled. If I didn't sell that to you, perhaps I would have thrown it away. It's free money I earned. No need to say anything else. He didn't lie. When he was being hunted by the insects, he even threw his bag away. He definitely wouldn't have left this small model that he didn't know with him. Luckily, he gave it to Li Hu or his $600,000 would have been gone. Li Hu didn't think Yimo would throw away something so important and thought Yimo was just being polite. He admired Yimo more for his generosity. Brother Yi, there's also someone called Yimo in Beijing, and he's from the Yi family, but it's said he was kicked out of the Yi family. Ha ha. If that Yimo had 10% of your excellence, that Yi old man would have treated him like the future of the Yi family. Li Hu and Yimo chatted for a while. He felt Yimo was very open, and soon thought of him as a friend, so he talked casually. Yimo smiled. I'm that Yimo you're talking about, but I'm not as powerful as you say. Treat me like the future of the Yi family? I don't care, much less they won't. Huh, Li Hu looked at Yimo in shock. He didn't think that the person in front of him was the abandoned son of that Yi family. Zhuo Yangqing was annoyed. One was because Yimo went against his word and didn't wait for her at the door of the school, and another was due to Qing Sun. The more she thought, the angrier she got. It was just 10 minutes' time, and the doctor she had longed for was gone. So this morning, she came to the door of Tsinghua University and wanted to see if she could wait for Yimo. If she couldn't, then she would ask Yiling and see if Yimo came for her. What made her angrier was Yimo didn't arrive, but the person she didn't want to see the most was here. Qing Sun had some flowers and walked over, guiltily saying, Yangqing, it was my bad yesterday. I'm sorry. Please accept my apology. These flowers are for you. Zhuo Yangqing looked contemptuously at Qing Sun. Who do you think you are to apologize to me? I'm telling you, from today on, I don't know you. If I go against my words, let the heavens destroy me. Piss off. Zhuo Yangqing was so angry that her fire could burn a lake dry, but Qing Sun had to come and piss her off. If it wasn't for him, then perhaps she would have invited Yimo. Now, she lost news of Yimo, and her grandpa was in danger. Even she couldn't forgive herself, much less a mere Qing Sun. Moreover, she had already warned him not to look for her. But today, this guy came right in the morning. She thought about how something that could be done in 2 minutes was dragged on for more than 10 minutes by Qing Sun. In the end, all it came to was a discord, and she even missed Yimo. Although Yimo said he was Yiling's brother, who knew if he would stay in Beijing. Everyone knew Yiling looked down on Yimo. If he left Beijing again, she would not even have a place to cry to. Hearing Zhuo Yangqing's words, Qing Sun's face turned pale. He didn't expect Zhuo Yangqing to say such determined words. This essentially severed any intentions he could have for her. He really didn't want to give up the second most prettiest girl in Beijing. Yangqing, you actually said such words. Who was that guy yesterday? You're being so heartless with me over him. Qing Sun said with hatred. F*CKU. Who is he to me? What's that got to do with you? He's my boyfriend. So what? Are you going to kill me? Don't appear in front of my eyes again. Then, Zhuo Yangqing turned to leave. She wanted to go to the dorms and ask Yiling. Although she didn't know Yiling well, they heard of each other. After all, in the uni, she was ranked second, and Yiling was ranked third in terms of beauty. Qing Sun's face was green and stared coldly at Zhuo Yangqing as evil flashed across his eyes. In the morning when Yimo and Li Hu came to the training base, there were nearly 100 people already training. Yimo looked at these Flying Fox members. They were indeed not bad, but still very immature to Yimo. However, it was quite decent they could achieve this in a training ground. Yimo, how about you have a few rounds with them? Li Hu saw Yimo's smile as he looked at these members, so he said, Captain Li, is this the mysterious hero you keep telling us about? A sturdy youth came up in front of Yimo and said challengingly. Li Hu looked at the youth and had an evil smile on his face. Yeah, Lu Gang, do you want to fight him? Of course I do. Lu Gang was up for the challenge. He hoped for an immediate match, so the whole squad would know his power. Lu Gang believed that he wouldn't lose even if he fought against Li Hu, much less a youth who looked scholarly. He was going to defeat Yimo and then say to Li Hu, Captain, your eyes are very good. Yimo smiled. Of course, he wasn't going to be so bored and fight these people. These people weren't even 1/10 as strong as Hu Qiu. He really had no interest in fighting them. Seeing Li Hu look over, Yimo said, I don't want to fight. They are no match for me, even if they all come at once. It's boring for me as well. Yimo didn't need to be humble. He was indeed saying the truth. Lu Gang heard Yimo's words, and his face was bright red. He didn't think Yimo would be so rude and just say he was no match for him. Not only this, he also said that the 100 of them was also no match for him. This was way too arrogant. Great bluff. Before Lu Gang had time to say more, someone interrupted. Elder Han, how are you here? Lu Gang saw the person coming and quickly greeted with a face full of respect. Yimo also saw the people who came. There were 5 of them. The leader was an old man in his 60s. 2 police guards followed him. Other than that, there was a man in his 30s and a girl in her 20s. The man who said he was bluffing was the man in his 30s. He scanned across Yimo contemptuously. Yimo sneered. He could tell the man was not bad, but at most, he was only a little stronger than Hu Qiu, but still no match for him. However, that girl seemed weak, but she gave Yimo a much greater threat than that man. This made Yimo give the girl a closer look. She looked very quiet and not too pretty but durable to look at. However, Yimo soon knew that she was durable to look at due to the art she was cultivating. This woman wasn't simple. Perhaps she came from the hidden sections. Ever since these few people came out, almost everyone saluted to the old man. Only Yimo did nothing. The man looked more unhappy. You are Yimo? The one who helped Li Hu find the model? Elder Han asked. Yimo answered, Yes, I'm Yimo. I sold the data to Li Hu. I didn't specially go help him find it. Chapter 145. Winnings of the Battle. Chapter 145. Winnings of the Battle. Elder Han laughed. Yimo, you don't need to be humble. The money you took wasn't even enough for 10% of its real worth, so I can represent the country to thank you. You've contributed greatly to the military. Yimo smiled and didn't reply. He didn't have that kind of resolve. If someone gave a higher price than Li Hu and he didn't mind that person, he wouldn't have hesitated to sell it to someone else. Seeing Yimo not reply, Li Hu quickly said, Elder Han was one of the commanders in the Beijing military district. He's a lieutenant, Yimo. Elder Han already heard Li Hu's words and waved his hand. I've heard from Li Hu of Yimo's power in the desert. I heard from people that you were buying a phone in the market yesterday, and I knew you would come looking for Li Hu. Today, I came just to see you. You should be Wentian's son, right? Sigh, Wentian was supposed to be doing great things, but he left too early. Things were really harsh on you and your siblings. Yimo heard this and had some good impression to this Elder Han. If somebody said this to him yesterday, he wouldn't feel anything, but after seeing how Yiling was, he knew how hard things were for her these years. Elder Han is too polite. I should be the going to see you. How can you be visiting me? Yimo greeted. Elder Han nodded. I've heard about your things, but Beirong and Yuani are my old companions. This time, Beirong really looked wrong. You are like your father, Wentian, an elite. You're even better than Wentian. Sigh, this time, Ning Fujian looked wrong too. Then, he shook his head. Elder Han's name was Han Zixin, one of the commanding officers at Beijing Military District. Although he had retired now, he was responsible for a few special ops squads. Flying Fox was one of them. It was also the most famous squad. Flying Snow was also under his command. Yimo knew who Beirong and Yuanyi was. It should be the leader of the Yi family, Yi Beirong, and the eldest of the Song family, Song Yuanyi. As for that Ning fusion, he was probably from the Ning family. After sighing for a while, Elder Han said once again, Yimo, if you want to come to my special ops, I can let you go to Flying Snow. That's where the best in the country are gathered. I believe you can step higher at Flying Snow Squad. Plus, if you came to Flying Snow, I'm willing to help you with your issues with the Yi and Song family. Although Li Hu didn't know Yimo was from the Yi family, it didn't mean that Han Zixin didn't know. He wasn't too sure either until someone reported to him yesterday. He was reported that Yimo came to Beijing yesterday and bought a phone at the supermarket. He immediately came to see what Yimo wanted. He wanted to see why this proclaimed human scum, Yimo, was so excellent in Li Hu's mouth. And how could he have such enmity with the Song family? Plus, he gave such an important military data so easily. Now that he saw Yimo's composed and calm manner, as well as his strong confidence and defined features, Han Zixin wanted to take him in for his talent. Although, the main thing was due to Yimo bringing back the data and donated it to the country, he also wanted to compensate Yimo in another way. As for Yimo's power, Han Zixin thought it wasn't bad, but it was just the same level as Li Hu. Although he was a talent, but not to the stage where Han Zixin must have him. But even so, he realized how terrifying gossip can be. Yimo was no human scum. The manner in which he faced him without fear told him that Yimo was no simple man. Even if it was a descendant of a big family, they would be worried and nervous seeing a lieutenant. Yimo only seemed to say hi after he talked about his father. Brother Yi said that the entire Flying Fox is no match for you. Du Tao wants to test that. The man who had been behind Elder Han this whole time said at this moment. Blasphemy, Du Tao. You're the instructor of the special ops. What are you fighting with Yimo for? Leave. Hearing Du Tao's words, Elder Han reproached immediately. Du Tao saw Elder Han say it so quickly. He backed down with a face of disappointment. Although he was the vice head of the police department in Beijing and one of the instructors for the special ops, he was still a member of Flying Snow. Yimo smiled and looked at Du Tao. You are also no match for me. There's no point in fighting you. He wouldn't be polite to this guy. And he didn't want to keep a low profile in Beijing. He would teach those who needed a lesson. Du Tao was regretful that he couldn't teach this arrogant Yimo a lesson, and now that he was mocked, he was more furious. He immediately bowed to Elder Han. Head, please allow me to spar with Yimo. I'll control myself and won't hurt him. Originally, Han Zixin didn't want Du Tao to fight Yimo. Du Tao was an intermediate stage yellow-level martial artist. No matter how strong Yimo was, he would only be on the same level as Li Hu and not even reach into the ranks of martial artists. How could he be a match for Du Tao? However, he was really surprised that Yimo said such words. In that case, he really wanted to see how strong Yimo was. He nodded and said, Okay, since you guys want to fight, then stop appropriately. Du Tao was his trusted man, and Yimo was a youth he liked and was Yi Beirong's grandson. If Yi Beirong knew he was very excellent, he would take Yimo back into the family. Plus, he contributed an inestimable military data. Although it was still being evaluated, Han Zixin knew that model was worth more than $30 million, and many of its worth were still unknown. This was one of the reasons why he took another look at Yimo and came over personally. Unexpectedly, Yimo still said, I won't fight with you. My abilities are for killing. I'm not interested in playing with people. Although your leg martial arts are not bad, I've met someone who is 10 times better than you with legs, but he only managed 20 moves under my hand before I disabled his legs. Yimo talked without any concern. He could easily tell that Du Tao's martial arts was in his legs, but no matter how good they were, could they be better than Wu Chong's? In Yimo's eyes, if Du Tao were to fight Wu Chong, it wouldn't take 50 moves before Du Tao was a dead man. With Elder Han's permission, Du Tao was already rubbing his hands pumped to teach Yimo a lesson. But now he heard Yimo say that he disabled a person's legs in such a nonchalant tone, his face looked bad. At this moment, The young girl next to Elder Han noticed Yimo. She originally thought Yimo was ordinary, but why was he so arrogant? And did Yimo really see that all of Du Tao's prowess was in his legs? How did he see it? Yimo could see her powers, but she couldn't see a bit of Yimo's at all. Oh, hearing Yimo's words, Elder Han was interested. He knew that Du Tao's leg arts was not bad. This Yimo could tell in one eye. Was there really not much difference between the two? Thinking that Yimo might not be much weaker than Du Tao, Elder Han's eyes were excited. He needed human resources the most now. Yimo was cold, and he seemed very generous and decisive, not to mention he was still so young. If he was as strong as Du Tao, then taking him into the special forces would mean. Thinking about this, Elder Han could no longer resist and immediately said, "Okay, then we'll bring out some winnings. I'll sponsor that. Whoever wins, I'll let him go into the extreme weapon vault and choose a weapon." As soon as he heard extreme weapon vault, Du Tao's eyes lit up. He once had a dagger from the vault, and that helped him through countless dangerous missions. However, he lost it in a mission in Tibet and felt regretful since then. If he could get a strong weapon from the vault, his power would up a level. Yimo was disinterested. What weapon could be stronger than the ones he made? He didn't care at all. If he had the material, he would have made a weapon for himself already. Seeing Yimo's lack of interest, Li Hu quickly said, "Brother Yi, don't underestimate the vault. It's all the top quality materials. Some are made of materials you've never heard of. A major part of it is from the hidden sections." Hearing that they were from the hidden sects, Yimo was a little interested but not too excited. He said casually, "Don't they say the hidden sects things are hardly seen in the ordinary world? How could it be found in the extreme weapon vault?" Li Hu smiled. "Brother Yi, you're not quite simple knowing about the hidden sects, but the weapons in the vault are not bought but traded with materials. Normally, the country would look for rare materials in all sorts of strange places. Then, these materials are given to the hidden sects which are used to trade for some special weapons." Hearing Li Hu's explanation, Yimo's eyes lit up. Wasn't he looking around for material? How complete would a country's collection be? His storage ring was still missing some material and couldn't be forged. If he could find some high-quality material, then it would be a gift from heaven. Thinking about this, Yimo walked in front of Elder Han and bowed once again. "Elder Han, I don't want the weapons in the vault. I would rather have a few pieces of material. What do you think?" Elder Han heard Li Hu's words just then, and now that Yimo asked, he couldn't help but smile. "The materials are used to trade for weapons. Of course it's fine if you want them, but you need to win first. If you can win against Du Tao, I'll let you choose 10. Yimo smiled. "Okay, thank you." Du Tao was furious. Yimo didn't even take him seriously and sounded as though it was very easy to beat him. Chapter 146. No one can force me. Chapter 146. No one can force me. Seeing Du Tao, who was extremely angry, Yimo laughed to himself. Just by his attitude, he wouldn't get far in martial arts. "What are you looking at? Come, make it quick. I need to go pick materials after this." Yimo looked at Du Tao and shook his head. In the cultivation realm, fighting someone whom one didn't know about could cause their life with the slightest mistake. Yimo could see Du Tao's power, and that was why he was so arrogant. However, Du Tao didn't know Yimo's power and felt he could surely beat Yimo. This was the real mistake. Hearing Yimo's words, Du Tao just charged up and attacked. However, Yimo acted as if he didn't see it at all and remained stationary. Judging by Du Tao's personality, he would use his legs straight up and try to beat him down using the shortest time, without using his fists at all. And it was just as Yimo expected. Du Tao's fists were hollow attacks as he concentrated his power on his legs. Before Du Tao's fist reached, his right leg kicked like a straight line as if a whirlwind. Yimo nodded. Du Tao's legs were far cry from Wu Chong, but his speed was nearing the latter's. Wu Chong's legs were not only fast but also powerful. Even with Yimo's power, his legs felt pain after kicking Wu Chong's leg 20 times. Du Tao's speed was just below Wu Chong's, but his power in Angel was a far cry from Wu Chong. Moreover, Du Tao had this implausible idea. He wanted to kick Yimo with his left leg after his right leg connected. This, Emo could tell from how the opponent charged power on his left leg. Emo shook his head. He didn't know what Du Tao was thinking. If he could beat Emo, he would only need his right leg, but he wanted to switch to left leg purely for aesthetics. This guy was really pretentious. He really overestimated himself, thinking that he could kick a guy whom he had never fought before, flying. The woman beside Elder Han saw that Emo didn't even move under Du Tao's hollow attack and immediately frowned. Of course, she could tell Du Tao's fists were hollow, but she didn't expect Emo to see it as well. She wouldn't believe that Emo didn't have time to react. And not only did Emo not move, he also looked at Du Tao's left leg and even shook his head. This woman immediately understood that Emo could tell Du Tao's intentions. The act was pretty, but it was impractical, and it would only be effective on an opponent far weaker than him. As expected, Emo slightly sidestepped and didn't even move his hand. However, he kicked his left leg towards Du Tao's leg a few times. Even that woman didn't see Emo's movements clearly, and Emo had already switched to his right leg before kicking Du Fei many meters away. Emo attacked Du Tao the exact same way he did against Wu Chong, but it was just easier. When Du Tao's leg collided with Emo's, he rejoiced. He felt that the power on his leg wasn't something Emo could handle. Just when he was prepared to hear Emo cry out in pain and switch leg in midair to kick Emo away beautifully, there was a piercing pain from his right leg, rendering him unable to kick with his left leg. Du Tao was shocked and immediately knew things weren't good. Just when he wanted to retreat, Emo kicked his right leg onto his stomach. His head buzzed and couldn't believe that he was kicked flying. The position was exactly what he wanted to kick Emo with. So fast, these were the only 2 words in his brain. He only lasted 5 moves and was kicked flying by Emo. That woman saw that Emo actually did what Du Tao wanted, cleanly and even more aesthetically pleasing than Du Tao's imagination. Her heart moved and had a strong urge to fight Emo, but eventually, she suppressed this desire. Although she was sure she wouldn't lose to Emo, she didn't want to expose her power in front of everyone. Du Tao fell to the ground and couldn't get up. However, Han Zixin was shocked. He clearly knew who Du Tao was, and even in the Flying Snow Squad, he wasn't average. Moreover, he was also a yellow-ranked master, but he couldn't even last a few moves in front of Emo, Lu Gang, and Li Hu were also shocked. Li Hu knew Emo was strong, but didn't expect him to be this strong. Lu Gang was more shocked. He was still planning to battle Emo too, but now that just seemed ridiculous. Not even 10 of him were a match for Du Tao, but Du Tao lost so completely in front of Emo. Han Zixin also knew about martial arts and knew that if it was a life or death battle, Du Tao would die faster. No wonder the Song family couldn't do anything about Emo so far. He was so strong. Where did he learn this from? Did he reach the black level of martial arts? Thinking about how Flying Snow Squad would be so much stronger if Emo joined them, Han Zixin was lost in thought. No, he must have Emo in his squad. Emo didn't care about Du Tao he kicked flying. He only cared about how much materials he could get from the keep. He saw Elder Han seem to be lost in thought, so he could only walk over and say, "Elder Han." Han Zixin gasped for some air and felt Emo was cuter and cuter. He really was someone special. Luckily, he suddenly thought of coming to see Emo today. Otherwise, where would he find someone valuable like Emo? Only a descendant of ancient martial arts sects could match Emo, but Emo was obviously not from those sections. If he was, how would the Song family dare to look for trouble with him? How would the Yi family be willing to kick him out? Emo, I really didn't expect you to be so strong. Good, good, good. Then, Han Zixin studied Emo and looked at him as though he was studying some treasure. Emo felt helpless and could only wait for Han Zixin to talk. At this moment, Du Tao had crawled up. Other than some pain on his leg, he was fine. He looked at Emo with reverence from afar. He didn't expect Emo to be so strong. This was the strongest opponent he had ever faced. Now, he believed Emo's words. His power was for killing, not for playing. If Emo wanted to kill him just then, even a few of him would have died. He originally thought he was not bad. Now, it seemed he was still intolerably weak in front of the truly strong. And Emo had a lot of killing chi. He said that he debilitated someone with a much strong leg martial arts than him, and now, It seemed to be true. Someone like Emo didn't seem to be willing to lie about this. Thinking that if he pissed Emo off, and he could potentially debilitate his leg too, he felt helpless. He shivered at the thought. Emo must not be offended. He heard Emo offended the Song family but was still fine. That seemed to be true. However, it was not that the Song family didn't bother to deal with him, but they just didn't dare to. After Han Zixin repeated the words good, he stared at Emo passionately and said, Emo, join Flying Snow Squad. You must join. You can be the instructor. Emo shook his head. Elder Han, I'm not interested in joining the army. I'm only interested in the materials in the keep. No, you must join Flying Snow Squad. If you don't, I won't let you choose the material. In a fit of worry, Han Zixin threatened Emo with the material. Emo smiled calmly. In that case, Li Hu, I'll be leaving. Then, he turned and left as though Han Zixin was just air. Seeing that Emo was leaving, Han Zixin was worried and quickly pulled Emo's clothes. Brother Yi, you mustn't leave. We can discuss about this. Just look at the materials first. Then, we can talk, I beg you. Emo, who was originally pissed off, saw Han Zixin's expression and couldn't really get angry, so he freed his clothes and said, in that case, please send someone with me. No need, no need. I'll go with you myself. Han Zixin felt he had grasped a bit of Emo's personality and spoke quickly. Emo wasn't hesitant in getting his material as he won that. Now that Han Zixin said this, he immediately said, in that case, thank you, Elder Han. But if there's something I don't want to do, no one can force me, even the Heavenly Emperor. Emo's last words weren't polite at all. Du Tao, and Li Hu's mouth spasmed but didn't argue. If it was before the fight, Du Tao would sneer at Emo, but now, he felt he didn't have the right to. However, the woman beside Han Zixin frowned and seemed to want to say something but eventually didn't. Han Zixin knew his words before were unreasonable, so he wasn't angry at Emo and instead said, we can discuss about joining the squad later. Let's go see the material first. You're free to join if you want. Although he spoke like that, Han Zixin was thinking about how he could keep Emo. It seemed he had pissed Emo off a little. Yes, how could a master like him be willingly constrained? If he was really that easy to talk to, the Song family would have devoured him already. Chapter 147. Each having their own calculations. Chapter 147. Each having their own calculations other than the two guards. Only that girl could accompany Han Zixin into the keep. Not even Du Tao could go in and had to wait outside. Even the two guards could only stand at the door and not go in. Whether it was the extreme weapon keep or the materials keep, it was heavily guarded. Emo suspected that without Han Zixin's lead, it would be very troublesome even for him if he wanted to come in. Although he wasn't into high-tech, it didn't mean he knew nothing. After all, he studied for so long at Ning Hai University, so he knew even about laser passages. There was one in the long corridor leading to extreme weapon keep. Emo knew that he didn't have a way to pass it now, unless he didn't touch the ground and the laser didn't activate. However, normal laser passages didn't need people to be on the ground. The motion sensor could activate the laser. Thinking about the rays of laser, Emo felt stunned at heart too. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't stop the light rays, and he might even be cut into pieces, unless he had reached Foundation establishment or had a strong defense artifact. It seemed that his power was still too weak, and he underestimated the means of a country. Since they could have these passages, it also meant that there were similar weapons. Although it wouldn't be as strong as the one in the passage, it should be enough to threaten him. Han Zixin didn't know about this. In order to attract Emo, he took him to the extreme weapons keep first because he thought Emo would immediately be attracted after coming into the keep. However, what made Han Zixin surprised was that Emo shook his head in disappointment after looking at the wide collection of weapons. He turned his head and asked, Elder Han, didn't you say there were materials? Why are they all normal weapons? Normal weapons? Han Zixin's mouth spasmed. The special ops working for him all felt glory for coming in here and picking a weapon. However, in Emo's eyes, they were only normal. It could be said that each weapon here was worth much more than the 600k he acquired. However, his eyes weren't good enough to pick it up. Now that Emo asked, He could only say, "Yes, it's the keep beside here." Then, Han Zixin took Yimo to the other storage keep. Yimo noticed that when Yimo said he didn't see any material, Han Zixin's expression was that his views were too low, but that woman frowned. Obviously, she didn't want Yimo to go in. When Yimo went in, he saw more materials. Although there was a lot of variety, most of them were useless to Yimo. Many metals and steel were unattractive to Yimo. Han Zixin thought that Yimo would look carefully at all these material and would take a long time. However, Yimo just walked straight to a few mining stones and held them. He didn't know that Yimo had spirit sense and could tell what things they were just by scanning them. Although most materials were useless to Yimo, Yimo rejoiced at finding 2 each of the purple copper essence ore, silver sand ore, and extreme wind stone. Moreover, he also found an extreme-grade black jade. Yimo was very happy to have these 7 stones, but it was a pity that he didn't find any ores for making flying swords. Only found 7 you want. Sigh, if we didn't ship away some 3 months ago, perhaps you would find more. Seeing Yimo only being interested in 7, Han Zixin was disappointed. It seemed these materials couldn't attract him either. This time, Yimo was speechless. He was very satisfied to find 4 ores he needed on Earth. This was too rare. At least he could make a defense artifact for his sister, and he could make his storage ring. He didn't expect all these to be leftovers. Elder Han, how often do you give things to the hidden sects? Yimo couldn't resist to ask. Han Zixin laughed. It seems Li who told you, but these aren't secrets anyways. We usually give things to them annually. Our condition is that not only are they to help us, Grandpa, the girl beside Han Zixin spoke for the first time. Her voice was very crisp. Yimo didn't think that this girl was Han Zixin's granddaughter. She was not a simple person. Han Zixin smiled. Yimo is not an outsider. Plus, this isn't something that can't be told. Perhaps, Yimo would soon be on our side. Yimo knew that Elder Han still hadn't given up on making him join the Flying Snow Squad. Although he didn't want to, but he didn't want to give up these materials. If he could pick some each year, then it would solve a large problem for him. Perhaps he could finish gathering the materials needed for Flying Sword. Thinking about this, Yimo said, Elder Han, actually, I'm also decent at making weapons. I can use some weapons to trade materials with you. What do you think? Han Zixin smiled and said, Yimo, you don't know the perks of the weapons from the hidden sects. That's why you say that. If you knew the worth of the weapons in the Extreme Weapons Vault, then you wouldn't say this. But if you want materials, that's easy. Just join Flying Snow Squad and I can let you pick 10 each year. Yimo was moved but didn't talk. Instead, that young girl said once again, Grandpa, this way. Yin Yin, only 10, it's fine. And before we trade things, I can still decide what to do with you. You just need to not tell them. Han Zixin immediately said. The girl hesitated and eventually didn't say anything. From these words, Yimo already understood that this girl should be from the hidden sects and was Elder Han's granddaughter. However, 10 each year should be enough for him. Plus, they might not even gather 10 he needed each year. However, he didn't want to join Flying Snow Squad. It was too restricting and a waste of time. However, Yimo knew it was impossible for him to get these things for free. As though seeing Yimo's hesitation, Han Zixin immediately said, You just need to be the instructor and you can move freely. You just need to help Flying Snow Squad do one thing each year. Yimo hesitated and said, I can be the instructor, but I will only be teaching for 3 days each year and do one thing for Flying Snow Squad once every 2 years. And you must not use any reason to confine me. Otherwise I wouldn't accept it. Okay, deal. Han Zixin revealed the smile of a cunning fox. He originally wanted to use Extreme Weapons Vault to keep Yimo since it was the same as using materials. As long as Yimo joined Flying Snow Squad, things would become easier. Yimo knew this was Han Zixin's trap, but he had to jump in. He needed to cultivate it and didn't have much time to search for ores and spirit grass. How powerful was the workforce of a country? No matter how Yimo searched, he could not compare with the power of a country. Plus, there was no harm for him. He wouldn't waste too much time being an instructor. After leaving the vault, he went to eat with Elder Han. It was already in the afternoon, and his documents were ready. It was a small blue booklet with his photo attached. It said Yimo was the instructor for Special Ops Force Flying Snow Squad, and he also had a Bureau of Chinese Special Forces stamp. Yimo felt this little booklet wasn't completely useless. Perhaps it would be useful in the future. They also brought with him a gun and a mobile phone. Yimo took it, thinking about how he just bought a phone yesterday, and now he got a new one. He shouldn't have bought it if he knew. Then, he went to the training base for Flying Snow Squad and gave some instruction. Seeing the sky was dark, Yimo was scared his sister would be worried and was prepared to go to Huaqing University. However, after the captain of the squad Zhang Ju fought with Yimo, he was astonished and dragged Yimo to go to the party of the Beijing elites. Yimo was completely uninterested in such an event, but couldn't reject Zhang Ju and the other's strong request. After all, he was still the instructor. Moreover, Yimo was scared that his sister didn't want to leave Beijing. If she stayed and he didn't, it would be beneficial for her if he knew a few people in Beijing. After all, those who could come were either rich or powerful. Normal people couldn't come. For Yiling, last night was the best night of her life. Not only was her birthday smooth, she wasn't scared and knew that Yimo wasn't impotent. She felt grateful to Tianhe for testing Yimo's manhood. More importantly, Yimo said the Song family wouldn't come, and they didn't. She was fine the next day when she woke up. Being from a large, powerful family, Yiling knew that since Yimo didn't kill Song Xiaoqin and the Song family didn't come, it meant that they wouldn't. Despite not knowing why the Song family was so fearful of Yimo, she still felt proud of him. Only she knew that Yimo didn't rely on the Yi family at all. He relied only on himself. Yiling was all too clear on what sort of family was the Song family, so how could she not be proud of such a brother? Yiling was prepared to go meet with Yimo and Yi Zifeng and then invite her friends in her dorm out for a good meal. So as soon as she got up and couldn't reach Yi Zifeng's phone, she rushed home quickly. As soon as she entered, she felt the atmosphere wasn't right. Chapter 148. Yiling's Problem. Chapter 148. Yiling's Problem. Quan Yi, how come I can't reach my brother? Is he at home? Yiling thought he couldn't reach Yi Zifeng last night because he shut down his mobile, but she still couldn't reach him this morning. She knew that Yi Zifeng rarely went back after her father passed away 2 years ago, and usually stayed at the Yi family mansion. Of course, it was partly due to Grandpa liking him, but she didn't know what Yi Zifeng was thinking. Yiling rarely went back to a home that was empty and stayed most of the time at school. Occasionally, she would go back to live a few days at the Yi family mansion. However, she needed to steal things, so she had been here more frequently. Although Yi Zifeng rarely went back, his phone was always on, but today, his phone was still off. This rarely happened. So the first thing Yiling did when she came to the Yi family mansion was to ask for Yi Zifeng's whereabouts. Quan Yi was the caretaker of the Yi family mansion. Yiling needed to be going in and out of the mansion, so she intentionally got close to Quan Yi. But today, Quan Yi saw Yiling's face and her face quickly changed. She didn't answer Yiling's questions and walked away with her head down hurriedly. Yiling, you still dare to come back? Get inside. A vulgar voice sounded. Before Yiling could react, a huge hand grabbed Yiling by the neck and easily dragged her in. The room was full of people. Not only were the main people in the Yi family there, even the women who weren't allowed in meetings were there too. It seemed that these people were already waiting for her. If she didn't come back herself, perhaps she would be apprehended. She looked at her grandpa sitting at the top and her heart sunk. Many years ago, her second auntie interfered with her second uncle's business and was punished so severely. The things she did now were countless times more severe than what her second aunt did. No matter how much her grandpa liked her, she couldn't escape the consequences today. Yiling found that she looked through the entire house and almost everyone was here other than Yi Zifeng. Where did Yi Zifeng go? Yiling suddenly worried as her heart skipped a beat. Could Yi Zifeng be punished due to her? She forgot that she should be worried about herself, not Yi Zifeng. Yi Beirong looked at Yiling once, and the disappointment was clear in his eyes. He didn't say anything. His health had been good, so he could survive for another 8 or 10 years. Because he liked Yi Wentian, he wanted to wait for another 10 years after Yi Zifeng was mature to see if he could give the leader position to Yi Zifeng. Out of the brothers, Yi Wenqi was too calculative and didn't have a broad view. He could only be calculative in small things. As for Yi Wenjin, he was more of an imbecile. However, Yi Zifeng was quite like his father, and this was the reason Yi Beirong didn't give the leader position to Yi Wanqi. Last time, he even tried to let Yi Zifeng enter the family meeting. Although his words weren't allowed, his performance was well. He thought of everything, but just didn't expect Yi Ling to do something so treacherous. She actually stole 2 of the Feng Shui Dragon Balls and gave it to their opponent, the Song family. If Yi Beirong could let this go easily, then there would be no point for the existence of the Yi family. Yi Beirong scanned the tens of people below and remained silent for a while before saying, "There are 2 things I want to announce in this meeting. The first thing is, from today, the leader of the family will be Yi Wanqi. 3 days later, we will do the exchange. The second thing is Yi Ling's treacherous acts will be dealt with by Yi Wanqi." Then, Yi Beirong stood up from the leader chair and sighed. He didn't sit on another chair, and instead walked out of the room. Yi Ling's heart was cold. It seemed her grandpa wouldn't let her go. If her grandpa punished her, she would still have some chance. But if it was her big uncle, then she wouldn't even know what would wait for her. Plus, her grandpa wasn't here. Yi Ling suddenly looked at Yi Lu, who was behind her 4th uncle, and was immediately shocked. She was caught. But why was Yi Lu fine? Yi Lu did more things than her, but just didn't steal the Dragon Balls. Plus, it was Yi Lu who introduced her to Gu Luo. And Gu Luo said Yi Lu was working for him from a long time ago. Since the Yi family could find out she stole the Dragon Balls, how could they not know what Yi Lu did? Yi Ling's heart couldn't help but to sink. She had experienced some things and was no longer the naive child she once was. She thought about her suspicion about her father's death as well as the things she did. Could her big uncle not tell she was intentionally getting close to them? They took this long to know she stole the Dragon Balls? And was sure she took it? Did her big uncle's men not care all this time she'd been inside the mansion? Yi Ling suddenly thought of a scary truth. It was that right from the beginning. Her big uncle and 4th uncle knew what she was doing, but they just let her be. She was in trouble, but Yi Lu was free instead. So perhaps they purposely got Yi Lu to get close to her. Yi Ling was shivering at her thought. Why did her big uncle do this? What good was there for him? Was it just to kill her and her brother? The more she thought, the more she felt the chances were high. How old was she? She hadn't even graduated. Her big uncle and them were cunning. She could only lose in a wisdom battle with them. Her brother Yimo was kicked out by them because of his bodily issues. Yi Ling couldn't understand why her big uncle and 4th uncle would do this and try to eradicate their line. But everything else, Yi Ling understood. If Yi Ling knew that Grandpa was planning for Yi Zifeng to be the leader of the family 10 years later, she would understand. Zhang Ju was not as famous in Beijing as Du Tao. When Yimo, Zhang Ju, Du Tao and Li Hu walked in, most people only greeted Du Tao since he was the vice head of the National Security Bureau. However, Du Tao wasn't feeling full of himself at all because only he understood that other than Li Hu, Yimo and Zhang Ju's identity were higher than his. Zhang Ju didn't like this sort of scene, but he didn't really understand Yimo's personality, and that's why he pulled him here. "Brother Zhang, your arrival really surprised me." A youth not yet in his 30s arrived. It seemed that not everyone didn't recognize Zhang Ju. This youth speaking obviously knew Zhang Ju and his identity. Zhang Ju smiled and turned to Yimo and said, "This is the young master of the Li family, Li Chouyang. He's quite famous in Beijing, haha." Li Chouyang looked curiously at Yimo. He knew Du Tao was still a subordinate of Zhang Ju. What Li Chouyang didn't expect was that Zhang Ju actually introduced him to the youth beside him whom he didn't know. This youth dressed very ordinarily, or he was perhaps even poorly dressed. Who was this person? When Zhang Ju introduced him, he was obviously very respectful. Other than that old man Han Zixin, who else could let Zhang Ju be so respectful to? And Du Tao and Zhang Ju were both half a step behind him. Although there was just that slight distance, it was enough for Li Chouyang to judge Yimo's status. He had understood that Yimo was no ordinary person and had a higher status than Zhang Ju at least. Li Chouyang's heart moved. He wouldn't judge by appearances and quickly walked up to Yimo and extended his hand. "I'm Li Chouyang, Zhang Ju's loyal supporter and his friend." Yimo smiled and shook hands with him. "I'm Yimo. I just got to know Zhang Ju today." Li Chouyang's mouth spasmed. He was all too clear on Zhang Ju's arrogance. He would never believe Zhang Ju would be so respectful to someone whom he just met. But Yimo didn't seem to be lying. Yimo, this name seemed to be familiar, the same name as the trash who was kicked out of the Yi family. Haha, let's not stand here. Mr. Ji Baichin, who just came back from Taiwan, will hold a charity auction. Then, there will be a ball. Let's sit down and have a chat. Later at the auction, you can see if you have anything you want. Ji Baichin is a famous antiques collector. It's said he prepares a lot of good things whenever he comes back. Li Chuyoung smiled and said, Okay, I've heard of Ji Baichin's name for a long time. Although I don't have much money, I still want to see his collection. Zhang Ju immediately agreed. Sorry, a person suddenly bumped into Yimo and apologized right away. However, when the person looked at Yimo, that person voiced out, Hey, it's you. Yimo saw that he had actually seen the person who bumped into him before. She was the Tan Fei who was going to give him an album when he got off the plane yesterday. He didn't expect to see her at this upper-class social night, but since she was that famous, she did seem to have the ability to come. Fei Fei, after tonight's auction, there's a ball. I'll dance with you later. A young man followed closely. Tan Fei no longer had the mood to think how someone as poor as Yimo could come in here, and turned to look at the man and said, Sorry, young Master Yi, my leg is injured. Chapter 149, Too Freaking Awesome. Chapter 149, Too Freaking Awesome. Yimo scanned with his spirit sense. Tan Fei's leg was fine. It seemed that she just wanted to reject this young Master Yi, and couldn't help but to smile, thinking that women could always find an excuse. However, his smile was caught by the young Master Yi. A person dressing so poorly dared to laugh at him, and it was obviously because Tan Fei rejected him. What are you laughing at? You bumped into Fei Fei and hurt her leg. If you laugh again, I'll tear your mouth. This youth saw Yimo's smile and was angered by embarrassment. Hearing these words, Zhang Ju's face sunk but didn't rage. This young Master Yi in front of him was from the Song family and was the son of Song Qifeng, someone who had great power. He was also in the Shao generation. However, because a feng shui master said that he would be able to achieve something great once he took the Shao away from his name, he changed it Song Yi. Although he wasn't afraid of Song Yi, but getting on bad terms with Song Yi was the same as getting on bad terms with the Song family. Li Chuyoung's mouth smiled. He just got to know Yimo, so of course, he wouldn't stand up for him. Moreover, Song Yi's status was no lower than his, perhaps even a little higher. Although his Li family was one of the 5 great families of Beijing, there were too many people in the Li family, and he was only a decent member. He was still a little low compared to a core member such as Song Yi. Yimo frowned. Who was this young Master Yi? He was so cocky. However, Tan Fei had reacted and quickly said, This isn't his fault. I accidentally bumped into him. Fei Fei, just stand aside and dance with me later. If I say it's his fault, it is his fault. Then, Song Yi walked up with cruelty. Zhang Ju finally couldn't resist anymore and was going to argue with Song Yi, but Yimo stopped him. You're called Song Yi? From the Song family? Yimo looked at Song Yi and coldly said, It's too late to know I'm from the Song family, Chuyoung. This guy's not related to you, right? Don't blame me for not considering you. Song Yi casually looked at Li Chuyoung. Slap, 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 slap. Before Song Yi even finished his words, Yimo had slapped him 4 times on the face already. Song Yi was slapped meters away and crumbled to the ground. Teeth flew out as his mouth was covered in blood. After the initial shock, he immediately pointed his finger at Yimo crazily and stammeringly said, You don't want to live. You dare to hit me? Everyone around was shocked. Song Yi's identity, who didn't know? This poor-looking youth dared to break so many of his teeth and bruise his face. Li Chuyoung was shocked. Although he knew that Yimo's status was quite high, but who dared to easily beat up Song Yi like this? Of course, it was only unless he didn't know who Song Yi was. Tan Fei was shocked and was at a loss for words. She could only think that it was over. If she knew this would happen, she should have danced with Song Yi. But now, people may die. Although Zhang Ju was shocked, he was still calm. Although the Song family was powerful, he was the captain of Flying Snow Squad, so he didn't need to be afraid of them. At this moment, Yimo slowly said, So what if I beat up people from the Song family? Then, he walked up and kicked Song Yi on the leg, making a cracking sound. He actually broke Song Yi's leg in front of so many people after knowing who Song Yi was. Everyone around him looked at him as though he was crazy. Song Yi didn't faint from the pain, but almost fainted due to anger. At this moment, two men quickly rushed in front of Song Yi and wiped the blood from his mouth. One of the men stared coldly at Emo. "You're very bold. I hope you will still be so calm and bold later." Then, he picked up the phone. Emo laughed. "Even if Song Chiming is standing in front of my face, I'm still so calm." "You are Emo?" At this moment, the other person from the Song family finally recognized Emo, and his face immediately changed. "Emo?" The other man calling repeated this name and actually put down the phone. Emo sneered. "Good, your dog eyes aren't blind. I was just trying to find a reason to go to the Song family, but I didn't expect the wild seeds of Song family to come to me. In that case, don't blame me." The people around were dumbfounded to hear such insults in the face of the Song family, but people were more shocked afterwards. When Song Yi heard the person in front was Emo, his eyes were full of fear. He didn't even care about the pain on his leg. He sat up and said to Emo, "Young Master Emo, sorry, I didn't know it was you. Go, let's go." The two men who were going to look for trouble with Emo weren't surprised at all at Song Yi's apology after knowing that it was Emo. After Song Yi apologized, they carried Song Yi and turned to leave. They didn't leave any tough words behind and didn't even continue the call. Zhang Ju's eyes showed contemplation, but soon he understood. Emo must have came from the hidden sects, otherwise, Song Yi wouldn't be so cowardly. Only Du Tao guessed something. He guessed that the Song family was scared Emo would go on a rampage at the Song family disregarding the consequences. The most shocked were the people around. They were all guessing who Emo was. He beat Song Yi like that, but Song Yi still had to apologize. That was too freaking awesome. Tan Fei looked at Emo in disbelief. Emo was still dressed like before. Although he looked clean, but the clothes on him wouldn't be worth more than 200. His pockets seemed very full and he looked very poor. However, just who was he? Who was Song Yi? He was the young master of the Song family. His reputation was no better than Song Shaowen before. Tan Fei knew that quite well, and even if she wanted to find someone to protect her, there was no one who would not fear Song Yi. But this young man in front her beat up Song Yi, and Song Yi still had to apologize. The way Tan Fei looked at Emo also became more respectful. Although she was a popular songstress, she was nothing in front of these big family young masters. "Brother Yi, this way please. Would you be interested in antiques? If you are, tonight, Mr. Ji Beicheng won't disappoint you." Li Qiuyang didn't mention what happened just then at all, but the hospitality on his face was more vivid. He was thinking who Emo was, but he knew now was not the time to ask. Tan Fei looked at Emo with complicated and apologetic eyes. "Emo, thank you for just then. I'm really sorry. I'm Tan Fei. Will I have the honor of knowing you?" "It's nothing big, don't worry. And I have problems with the Song family. Even if they don't come for me, I will go for them. I'm Emo. We already know each other anyways, so no need for that formality." Emo waved his hand and said, if he really did see someone from the Song family, he would definitely go look for trouble. He wanted to know what Song Chiming's bottom line was. "Fei Fei, I've been looking for you a long time." Another sweet-looking girl walked over and grabbed Tan Fei's hand. "Come, Xiao Yu and Aunt Yun are here." Then, this girl didn't even give Tan Fei the chance to reply and dragged her away. Tan Fei turned around and gave Emo another apologetic smile. "If you have time, I wish to invite you to dinner." Emo didn't have his attention on Tan Fei at the moment and was listening to the conversation between the two men in the distance. They would have never thought that Emo could still hear their words at such distance. "Did you see? That person who beat up Song Yi is called Emo. Could he be that Emo from the Yi family?" "No way. Yi family's Emo is a garbage. How can he be here and teach Song Yi a lesson? By the way, no one from the Yi family seemed to be here tonight." "There's definitely no one from the Yi family out tonight." "What? You know why?" "I asked out Yiling last night. She said that there was something in his family today and couldn't come out. For a big family like theirs, even someone like Yiling wouldn't come out. That must mean something big is happening." "Not necessarily. How could a family as big as the Yi family have big problems? But these things aren't something that we can care about. Did you see Tan Fei just then? She's indeed pretty. No wonder Song Yi was interested. The auction is about to start. Mr. Ji Baichen is here. Someone called out and interrupted Yi Mo's focus. Yi Mo, however, felt this unknown uneasiness in his heart. He frowned and immediately realized it was because he heard those words and thought about Yi Ling. He hadn't seen Yi Ling this entire day. She must be worried after putting their arrangement on hold for so long. Thinking about this, Yi Mo could no longer stay and immediately said, I have something urgent, I need to go, we'll talk next time. Zhang Ju didn't stop Yi Mo this time because Yi Mo just beat Song Yi very hard. Even if he was from the ancient martial arts sects, he needed to make some arrangements in case the Song family ambushes him. He, Du Tao, Li Hu, Li Chouyang, and some other people went with him to the door. Yo Mo took a train to Hua University. He didn't wait outside the female dorms this time and went to Yi Ling's dorm with invisibility. Yi Mo's spirit sense saw that Yi Ling wasn't inside, but he still knocked. The person who opened the door was Tian He. When she saw it was Yi Mo, her face was full of joy, but when she thought about what happened last night, her face blushed a little. Yi Ling is not here? Do you know where she went? Yi Mo wasn't in the mood to think about other things and just asked for Yi Ling's whereabouts. Chapter 150. Yi Mo's Fury. Chapter 150. Yi Mo's Fury, you are Yi Ling's boyfriend, so isn't she living with you? And how did you get in? Lu Li also came to the door. Yeah, Yi Ling left in the morning and hasn't been back. We thought you guys were enjoying your private time that you forgot about inviting us to dinner, Tianhe said. Yi Mo suddenly had a bad feeling and urgently asked, which one of you have Yi Ling's number? Yi Ling's boyfriend didn't have her number. Although they were speechless, but seeing Yi Mo's desperate expression, Tianhe still gave it to him. Thanks. Yi Mo got Yi Ling's number. Then he said one word and disappeared. He runs really fast. Did he have an argument with Yi Ling? Dan walked up and inquired. Tianhe shook her head. I don't think so. Look at how worried Yi Ling was for him. How could she bear to argue with such a handsome boyfriend? If I have such a boyfriend, I would do anything he asks. There's no way I would argue with him. Okay, Tianhe, I'm sure you're not a virgin anymore. Tell me the truth. Who slept with you? Dan giggled and said. Tianhe sighed. Sigh, I also don't want it, but I can't find someone like Yi Ling's boyfriend. If there is, I'm willing to chase him. PFT. Yi Ling just said last night that guy was her brother? Dan had a face of disbelief. Yeah, but you need to make me believe it. If I have a boyfriend I love, I'll also call him brother. Is that not okay? Tianhe said. Yi Mo called Yi Ling as soon as he got her number, but it said her phone was unavailable. Yi Ling knew he was at Beijing and even wanted to ask Yi Zifeng out today. There was no way her phone would be shut. Her dorm mates said she was out in the morning, so how could there be no news of her till now? And even her phone was shut? Did something happen? The first thing Yi Mo thought of was those two people saying something happened at the Yi family. Did something happen to Yi Ling? Although Yi Mo wasn't too sure of those bullsh T family laws, but he still knew a bit. If people knew that Yi Ling stole the Dragon Balls, then there was no way she could escape. Thinking about Yi Ling, Yi Mo's heart was burning with worry. He even regretted staying in the training base for the whole day. He should have taken the money and left in the morning. Yi Mo called a taxi and made the taxi go to the Yi family mansion as fast as he could. At the door, the driver stopped because cars were not allowed ahead. Yi Mo got off and with an invisibility magic, he darted like a hurricane through the long shady road into the mansion. All of these only took half a minute for Yi Mo. Even a car would take a minute for this. There were still 2 guards at the door. If he didn't see Yi Ling's situation, he would go in with the invisibility magic, but at the door of the inner front yard, he had already scanned Yi Ling's state. His spirit sense could reach nearly 80 meters now. The moment he saw Yi Ling, his fury erupted. Yi Ling's head sagged down with her hair in a mess and was hung up at the corner of the yard inside a mosque. Her body was bloodied. It was obviously whiplashes, and what was left to cover her were tattered clothes. In just a day's time, she was tortured to this state. Bam! Emo kicked the door, flying many meters away. Before the two guards could react, they were already killed, spitting blood on the ground. Emo went into the mosque with his fastest speed and cut off the rope with a wind blade. Yiling dropped into his arms. Emo felt some relief as she hadn't died yet, but just fainted. It was probably because she hadn't eaten at all and was beaten heavily. If he came an hour or two late, it would be very hard to say if she would still be alive. Emo's cultivation chi started running as he immediately inserted it into Yiling's body. Yiling had received internal injuries, but under Emo's treatment, her injuries gradually disappeared. After 10 more minutes, she woke up and looked at the person in front of her. It was actually Emo. She was shocked and immediately asked, "Brother, why did you come? This has nothing to do with you. Why did they capture you?" Emo affectionately wiped the blood from Yiling's head and said, "Sorry, Yiling, I came late. I will take you and leave later, but I will first avenge you. I'll wash you first. Close your eyes." Yiling moaned and found that there was not a single part of her clothes or skin that was all right. Emo was her brother, and she didn't think otherwise. She just felt there was a warm sense in her body that prevented her from feeling pain and instead made her comfortable. She didn't know why Emo was cleaning her up. Although she was his sister and her clothes were just tattered, she was still embarrassed. Emo looked at the lashes on her body. There were bruises everywhere, and a fit of fury burned inside him. He used a few water ball magic and cleaned Yiling. At the same time, with his chi, those scars and bruises quickly disappeared. 10 minutes later, there was already a ruckus outside. Emo then took off his shirt and put it on Yiling. Yiling opened her eyes and looked at her wounds. They had actually disappeared. She looked at Emo in shock. "Brother, what medicine did you use? How come I don't feel any pain at all, and there are no marks on my body anymore? It's really magical, but I'm a little hungry." Emo caressed Yiling's hair. "Your brother is a doctor and has opened up a clinic. This time, leave Beijing with me, okay?" Yiling obediently nodded. At this moment, she felt calm and happy in her brother's arms without a single bit of worry. A faint serenity made her feel comfortable. If she could stay with her brother, she would never stay in this horrific family again. She just didn't know what was happening to Yi Zifeng. "Brother, you took off your clothes and gave it to me. What about you?" Until now, the Song family still didn't dare to hunt them. Now, it seemed that the Song family knew her brother was strong and didn't dare to come. She didn't think Emo would become this strong. This wasn't something she could imagine. Her brother was so excellent, but that Ning Qingxue still dared to revoke the marriage. She must be blind. If Emo wasn't her biological brother, then perhaps even she would fall in love with him. Thinking about this, Yiling cursed herself for thinking too much, but it really felt comfortable on her brother's back. Perhaps she was too tired and gradually fell asleep. "You are very strong, but even so, don't think about leaving this mansion today." A plain voice sounded after Emo beat up tens of people. As such, the moment when his foot landed, the silver on the ground disappeared, leaving a long sword that was stepped under his foot. The man's sneering face froze. He never had expected that someone could break his move using such unimaginable ways. Under shock, the man immediately reacted. The sword in his hand twisted in an attempt to pull the sword from under Yemo's foot. Emo felt an intriguingly strong force from under his foot. Just when he wanted to use more force, the sword had broken into 2 segments. The man held the half of the sword and, without hesitation, the long sword turned into a glimmer that struck towards Emo's stomach. Meanwhile, he followed behind the hilt of the sword as his 2 hands turned into shadows attacking towards Emo's chest. Emo didn't expect this person to be so good at long sword and fists. As the sword was about to hit Emo's stomach, he raised his foot and kicked the sword flying. Then, with a single fist, he punched the man's fist shadows. Bang! Bang! The clash of fists and palms echoed out. Crack! Emo didn't hold back at all. He used his fastest speed and sealed the man's fist shadows while twisting both of the man's wrists until they were broken. The man took a few steps back and his waxy yellow face became pale. The pain on his face could not cover his shock. Although he was a tertiary stage yellow-level martial artist, not even those at the peak of the yellow level could beat him. However, this youth who was much smaller than him easily broke through his killing move and sealed all of his fist shadows and then broke his wrists. Ever since he graduated, it was his first time meeting someone so strong. How come he hadn't heard of this man in the hidden sects? He couldn't even last 10 moves before he was gruesomely defeated. Emo bleakly looked at the man. Did you want to cut one or both of my legs off just then? Emo wasn't sure because the man was so proficient with that move. If Emo failed to step on that blade, then that man could have done whatever he wished on Emo's legs. I just wanted to cut your left leg. Beads of sweat dripped from the man's pale face. Very well, I'll return the favor. Then, Emo kicked the other half of the sword, and it turned into a white ray that was faster than when the man swung his sword at Emo. A faint sound reverberated. When the man realized what had happened, his left leg was severed. Emo had disappeared in front of him. He looked at the place where Emo disappeared in terror until blood gushed out from his wound before he thought about stopping the bleeding. That sword was a casual throw, yet it still cut his legs clean like tofu. Who was he? Who the hell was he? How could he be so horrifying and strong? If this person wanted to annihilate the Yi family, even if he had a few more helpers, they would still be no match for him. How could he meet such a master in an urban city? The man couldn't help but to start shaking. Master, what's wrong? A youth in his 20s hurriedly came and helped the wobbly man up. The man saw the youth come and gasped a sigh of relief before immediately saying, "My wrists are broken. Immediately grab my severed leg and carry me away from this place as far as possible. Quick now." 20 to 30 people plus Huang Yu. How come they're still not here yet? Wenjin, go have a look. Yi Beirong had calmed down now. No matter who the youth was, he would still kill him after asking him some things. The Yi family wasn't someplace people could come and go. No need, I've come. A cold voice sounded at the door. Yi Beirong suddenly stood up and looked at Emo in disbelief. Emo was obviously not captured. After a long while, he reacted. How did you come in? What happened to Huang Yu and the others? Didn't you tell me to come in? Are you talking about that yellow-faced long sword wielder? I cut off his leg and broke his wrists. He's been rescued away now. Emo stared coldly at Yi Beirong before saying, What? Yi Beirong's head buzzed. Other people didn't know Huang Ye's power, but he was all too clear. This man said he cut off Huang Yu's leg, so how strong must he be? And why does he look a little familiar? Of course, Yulong also knew how strong Huang Yu was. Now that Emo said this, he didn't believe it, but soon, people came in and reported to him what happened outside. The way Yulong looked at Emo immediately changed. Someone who could chop off Huang Yu's leg was definitely from the hidden sections. Yi Beirong also heard the report and showed a serious face. He immediately said in a low voice, reported immediately, Brother, why did you come back here? Yiling looked at this hall in fear. She was sentenced to death here in the morning and must be whipped for 3 days. As such, as soon as she come to this house, she felt a natural fear. Who are you? How dare you be so cocky? Don't you know this is the Yi family? Yiling, how dare you bring outsiders to ravage here? Yuichi saw his father's dissatisfaction and called out. Emo plainly glanced at Yuanqi. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear Yiling call me brother? I'm Emo, but I'm not a member of this family anymore. Of course, Emo would never admit he was from the Yi family. Regardless of whether Yi Wentian was his biological father in this world, he still wasn't from the Yi family. You are Emo? Yilong stood up and looked at Emo in shock. He finally understood why Emo could still be fine after killing Song Shaowen. With his ability to cut off Huang Yu's leg, it was way too easy for him to kill a few Song family people and escape. It wasn't that the Song family didn't want to retaliate, but they didn't dare. By the looks of it, their intel was far inferior than the Song family. If Yilong could understand this, of course, Yi Beirong could too. He didn't expect Emo to grow to this state. Yi Beirong calmed down once again and suppressed the shock in his heart. He sat down and looked at Emo. Since you are Emo and are a member of the Yi family, why did you break the mosque's door? Dad, I really tested Yi Mo's blood in the hospital. He's not from the Yi family. At this moment, Yi Wenqi spoke. Shut up, Yi Beirong reproached. Yi Mo sneered. Of course I'm not from the Yi family. I don't need you to remind me. I never thought myself as a member of this family. The reason I still haven't left today is to collect some debts. Who hit Yi Ling yesterday? All of you stand out. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you all. Don't doubt my words. Chapter 152. Good with both sides. Chapter 152. Good with both sides, Yi Mo. It's very rare to be able to practice martial arts to this degree. I don't know what fortune you had, but Yi Ling stole the Yi family's feng shui Dragon Balls. She's unforgivable. Although Yi Beirong calmed down on the surface, he still couldn't calm down inside. He didn't expect Yi Mo's power to reach this state. If he came back to the Yi family, then the Song family's cockiness will cease. However, he couldn't just ask for Yi Mo to come back. He could only do that through Yi Ling. He now no longer had the wish to punish Yi Ling. Plus, with Yi Mo's power, it would be a joke trying to punish Yi Ling. Seeing Yi Mo sneer, Yi Beirong continued, even if you're strong, can you stop Flying Eagle? I've already reported, not only will there be people from Flying Eagle Squad coming, but there will also be 3 people coming from Flying Snow Squad. If you are willing to admit your mistakes, I won't blame you. Yi Mo acted as though he didn't hear it. Of course, he knew about Flying Eagle. He was already the instructor for Flying Snow Squad, so how could he not know about Flying Eagle? In China's 9 Flying Special Ops Forces, Flying Eagle Squad was ranked 3rd. Seeing Yi Mo stay silent, Yi Beirong thought Yi Mo felt threatened. Just when he wanted to continue, Yi Mo suddenly took 2 balls from his pocket. You said that Yi Ling is unforgivable for taking these 2 Dragon Balls? And you're going to beat her to death? How are the Dragon Balls in your hands? Yi Wenjin knew that the things were in the Song family's hands, but now that Yi Mo had them, he couldn't stop himself from exclaiming. But immediately, he continued, is stealing the Dragon Balls forgivable? This is a treacherous act against the Yi family. Very well. Yi Mo gathered cultivation chi on his hand, and the 2 Dragon Balls were crushed to powder. After doing so, Yi Mo looked at Yi Wenjin and said, I've crushed both of them. What sin are you going to sentence me? Everyone in the Yi family was shocked, although the 2 Dragon Balls were stolen away, but the Yi family would eventually get it back through negotiation. At most, they would lose some interest, but now Yi Mo just crushed it. Yi Beirong looked at the crushed Dragon Balls in shock and couldn't say a word for a long time. Other than fury, he felt shock. How dare Yi Mo act in such a way? You? Yi Beirong pointed at Yi Mo. He was so angry that he couldn't say a thing. Yi Long and Yi Wenqi felt more shock than fear. They knew how hard the Dragon Balls were. Even if they used a hammer, they would need a lot of strength to shatter it. However, Yi Mo just rubbed it with his hands and it was powderized. Just what sort of strength was this? Yi Ling couldn't bear the scene and whispered in Yi Mo's ear, Brother, Grandpa has been quite nice to me. Don't make him too angry. Yi Mo sneered. Is beating you to death being nice to you? I don't think you need this kind of nice. I will count to 3. Whoever hit Yi Ling stand up or I won't hold back. And whoever grabbed Yi Ling by the neck and left the 2 marks, speak. Looking at the extremely cocky Yi Mo, Yi Beirong was shaking with anger. He was originally planning for Yi Mo to return to the Yi family, but by the looks of it, he might as well let the Flying Eagle members kill Yi Mo. I grab her neck. So what? A middle-aged man said angrily to Yi Mo. He was called Yi Wenqi, a nephew of Yi Beirong. Yi Mo turned to look at that man and blandly asked, Oh, which hand did you use? What? I used my left hand. What can you do to me? Yi Wenqi was not bad in martial arts, and he couldn't stand Yi Mo's arrogance. Nothing. I will take your left hand. Then, Yi Mo casually swiped through air. A blood ray shot out from Yi Wenqi's left shoulder, and his left hand along with his entire arm reaching to the shoulder was cleanly sliced by some invisible sword. The people in the room were in extreme fear once again. Although Yi Mo said he chopped off Huang Ye's leg, many of them didn't know how strong Huang Yu was and they didn't see it for themselves. Now that they saw Yi Mo sever Yi Wenqi's hand without moving, they finally realized how fearsome Yi Mo was. Yi Beirong knew Yi Mo was very strong, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to beat Huang Yu. However, casually cutting off Yi Wenqi's arm without moving, this was far beyond his comprehension. He stared in shock at Yi Mo's hand and forgot the fact that Yi Mo broke the Dragon Balls. He had already tried to overestimate Yi Mo, but he realized now that he still underestimated him a lot. He was guessing what projectile Yi Mo used. Yi Wenqi had been carried out, and Yi Mo didn't seem to notice it. On the other hand, Yi Ling was shocked. She didn't expect Yi Mo to cut off her uncle's arm in front of so many people. A while ago when Yi Mo cut off Huang Yu's leg, she was asleep, so she didn't know Yi Mo's fierceness. Bring out the people who hit Yi Ling, and I'll pretend nothing happened and leave. If you don't, then don't blame me. Yi Wenqi, slap yourself 30 times. If you still haven't moved before I go, you will regret it. Of course, Yi Mo wasn't going to let go of the main culprit for Yi Ling's apprehension. However, he couldn't just kill him now. He would think about it before he left. Just at this moment, another person came and bowed to Yi Beirong before saying, "The people from Nanqing are here. Do you want them to come in?" Yi Beirong seemed to suddenly woke up and quickly said, "Quick, quick, let them come in. Nanqing's people just came yesterday." Originally, they wanted to cooperate with Yi Beirong, but because the Yi family's Dragon Balls disappeared, they were arranged to the hotel. Just then when Yi Mo came, Yi Beirong asked for them. Yi Beirong wanted to use them against Yi Mo. He thought that no matter how strong Yi Mo was, he wouldn't be able to do much to Nanqing. Yi Beirong looked at Yi Mo and said, "Yi Mo, Yi Ling made mistakes, so according to ancestral rules, we must hang her up and whip her for 3 days. You are indeed strong, much stronger than I expected. No wonder the Song family didn't dare to touch you. But no matter how strong you are, you can't be stronger than Nanqing. To be honest, Nanqing wanted to ask me to deal with you, but I rejected. If Nanqing and us attacked you together, do you think you have any chances of winning? Plus, your acts are criminal. I believe there will be a hunt for you tomorrow." Yi Mo sneered. He didn't even bother with Yi Beirong. If it wasn't the Yi family people, he would have killed them long ago and finished the problem once and for all. However, if he killed all the Yi family people, first, Yi Ling wouldn't allow it. Second, he might come into conflict with Han Zixin. That didn't matter much, but the key thing was, his power was still low, and he depended on Han Zixin for resources. Sankai satisfactorily walked into the Yi family mansion. When he came yesterday, the Yi family tried to position themselves higher by dumping him in the hotel, but now, they still had to ask for him to come back. Sankai just saw Yi Mo, and his face immediately changed. He didn't bother with the Yi family people near him and walked in front of Yi Mo while respectfully saying, "Brother Yi, I didn't expect to see you here." He couldn't even finish a sentence. He was so scared that he couldn't say the rest of his words. He didn't think that he would meet Yi Mo while coming to negotiate a business deal with the Yi family. F***ck off, I don't want to see you here. Yi Mo was very angry now, and the Nanqing people had even come to piss him off. As such, he didn't have that much of a good attitude. Yi Beirong could no longer stay calm anymore. He looked at the Nanqing representative who ran away with one sentence, and his heart immediately dropped cold. Yi Mo's power was so strong that it made his back cold. Even Nanqing people didn't dare to breathe loudly in front of Yi Mo. Yi Beirong, however, hadn't lost all his hope yet. But contrary to his expectations, before the Flying Eagle squad members moved, the 3 Flying Snow squad members saw Yi Mo and came to salute him. As a response, Yi Mo only nodded towards them. Although Yi Mo was the instructor, he knew he probably didn't have the authority to tell them what to do, so he didn't bother to tell these people to go back. Yi Beirong sunk into an ice cave. Who was Yi Mo? He was good on both sides. As though seeing the atmosphere was wrong, the leading Flying Snow squad member said, "We'll go have a look outside first." Then, the 20 or so members also went out. A few moments later, only the Yi family people remained in the house. Yi Wenqi also knew things were not right. Yi Mo's identity was just too great. Bring the people who hit Yi Ling. Yi Beirong seemed to suddenly aged a lot. He didn't expect that the person abandoned by the Yi family could force the Yi family to such an extent. Yi Mo, a person who killed the Song family leader's son but still couldn't be killed by the Song family, was actually kicked out by the Yi family. Since Song Qiming could endure, So could he, Yi Beirong. In addition, Yi Mo was named Yi. Yi Ling looked at the two people who whipped her whip each other under Yi Mo's order and couldn't bear to look. She looked at Yi Mo and seemed to want to say something. Yi Mo knew what she thought and waved his hand. He knew that these two people only hit Yi Ling under Yi Wenqi's order, but their harsh whipping made Yi Mo have killing intent. Grandpa, where did my second brother go? Yi Ling looked at the old-looking Yi Beirong and asked. I sent him to England. Yi Beirong sighed. Brother, let's go. I don't want to stay here anymore. Yi Ling was scared Yi Mo was going to kill her big uncle. No matter what, that was still her big uncle. If Yi Mo did that, what would Grandpa do? Although she suspected her father's death to be related to her big uncle, but that was just a suspicion. Chapter 153. The Yi Family's State. Chapter 153. The Yi Family's State. Of course, Yi Mo knew what Yi Ling was thinking. Yi Ling was scared he would massacre the Yi family. Yi Mo wouldn't be so stupid. Even if Yi Ling had no feelings for the Yi family, he still couldn't kill people now, much less when she did have sentiments for them. Even if he were to kill, he would have to do it in secret. That way, even if everyone were to know his actions, none of them would have the evidence. If Yi Wenqi didn't dare to slap himself, then don't blame him for playing dirty. He crushed 3 small pieces of ore and shot one into Yi Wenqi's body, and another 2 towards the men who whipped Yi Ling. Then, he carried Yi Ling and left. Looking at Yi Mo's disappearing shadow, Yi Beirong seemed to have aged 10 years. After a long time, he murmured, Is the Yi family going to end? Yi Wenqi didn't realize that his life was saved by Yi Mo. Now that Yi Mo left, he immediately said, Father, don't worry. Since Yi Mo didn't kill today, then he shouldn't. Although he's strong, he's only one person. Could he compare with the entire family? Would he not be afraid of the country's judgment? Shut up. You think I don't know your little acts? You wanted to suppress Yi Mo, that's fine. But now you even want to touch Yi Zifeng. You didn't know anything about Yi Ling stealing the Dragon Balls? Although Yi Ling is unforgivable, but you knew what Yi Ling did and you didn't stop her. I originally thought that after the Yi family leaves the political scene, I might as well give you the family. But now, it seemed like I was very wrong. Yi Beirong spoke so hastily that he coughed. Seeing no one from the Yi family was awake to reality, Yi Beirong sighed once again. The only elite of the Yi family was kicked out. One that was slightly better was also suppressed. In order to protect Yi Zifeng, he had to send Yi Zifeng to England, and now, Yi Wenqi still talked with arrogance. Yi Mo wasn't even afraid of Nanqing. Even the Song family felt fearful of Yi Mo. Why would he be scared of the Yi family? Yi Beirong said with a lack of interest, I'm really disappointed. The Song family could find out Yi Mo's power and his identity and not dare to fight him. But our Yi family acted like a fool and didn't know anything. Yilong, your intel job is really well done. Wenjin, the Gu Luo guy Yi Ling knew was introduced by you, right? Why is Yi Lu fine? Do you all think I'm old? Yi Wenqi had a pale face but didn't argue. Seeing everyone was silent, Yi Beirong was more disappointed. After a while, he said, Yi Wenqi, tomorrow, apply for a relocation out of Beijing. You can decide where you go. Wenjin, tomorrow, hand in a resign and go with your second brother and do business. From today onwards, no one is allowed in the Yi family mansion without my permission. Saying this, Yi Beirong pretty much removed Yi Wenqi and Yi Wenjin from the authority center of the Yi family. Although he gave Yi Ling to Yi Wenqi to deal with, Yi Wenqi didn't have any kinship in mind, and that made him greatly disappointed. Grandpa, in that way, wouldn't our family gradually leave the 5 great families of Beijing? Yi Huang heard that his father was leaving Beijing, and he was not satisfied. He knew that once he left Beijing, he would no longer be the Yi family young master. The 5 great families, once I'm dead. Why should the Yi family be one of the 5 great families? Stop dreaming. Let our fame stop here. If anyone stirs up trouble, go clean up yourself. Everyone leave. Yi Long and Beiguang stay. Yi Beirong finished the words and leaned tiredly against the chair. He had a plan. It was an all-in bet. If he failed, the Yi family would indeed leave the Beijing Authority Center. As such, he wouldn't tell his plan here. The Yi family members dejectedly left the meeting room. Although Yi Wenqi wanted to argue a little, but he knew that what his father decided on was adamant. He already had no choice but to retreat. At last, the entire room was only left with Yi Beirong, Yi Long, Yi Beiguang, and the brother Jing who never spoke. Unexpectedly, the brother Jing who never spoke smiled and spoke after everyone left. Beirong finally made up his mind to take this step, but that Yi Mo is indeed an elite such talent. Not much young people these days can compare with him. Yi Beirong smiled with great fatigue. I knew I couldn't hide it from brother Jing, but I really have no choice. Not many of my sons are talented. They only know how to fight amongst themselves. Wenqi is only a little smart, but still can't be the leader of the family. My original plans are wrong. Although Yi Mo ravaged the Yi family, but this might not be a bad thing. You can't rise from the ashes without being burned first. The old man nodded. Brother Beirong is right in taking this step. After Wenqi and Wenjin leave Beijing, you can bring Zifeng back and gradually hand the family over to him. Although Yi Mo is not on good terms with the Yi family, he seems to be pretty good to Yi Ling. That would mean he would be good to Zifeng. As long as Zifeng is the leader of the Yi family, then if something were to happen, Yi Mo wouldn't stand and watch. Looking at his wide connections and his fierce means, you can just tell the Yi family will blossom. Yi Long finally understood what the leader meant. He wanted to say something but eventually couldn't. Yi Beirong looked at Yi Long and said, originally, I gave most of the authority to Wenqi and Wenjin. Your resources were limited, so I don't blame you for not having enough intel. But from today on, I will give a lot of resources to you. If you still can't make some progress, then decide what to do yourself. Yes, leader, don't worry, I won't disappoint you. Yi Long was full of joy after hearing this. His resources were too limited. It was incomparable to that of Song Hai from the Song family. The main reason was because most of the authority were in Yi Wenqi's and Yi Wenjin's hands. In a house in Beijing, although Yi Ling brought Yi Mo here, Yi Mo was still unfamiliar with it. He didn't have any impression of living here. The room was relatively clean, so it could be seen that although Yi Ling rarely came to live here, she frequently came to clean it up. Yi Mo went out to buy some simple meals and a few sets of clothes. Under Yi Mo's qi cultivation treatment, Yi Ling had pretty much fully recovered. Now that she had eaten something, she felt even better. Brother, how did you know I was captured? How did you know I was in the mosque? Did you ask someone? After Yi Ling recovered, the first thing she wanted to know was how Yi Mo knew she was captured. Yi Mo still said in a self-blaming tone, I went to an elite social night in Beijing, and because I taught Songyi a lesson, I heard people talking about the Yi family. I was worried about you, so I went to your dorm but didn't find you there. My first reaction was that something happened to you. I went to the Yi family, and luckily, you were still all right. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be able to forgive myself. Thank you, brother. Before, I always looked down on you, but now, I know how naive I was. There are some things you can't resist no matter how much you reject it. You and second brother are the most important people to me. Without you, I may have died. After Mom and Dad passed away, I thought no one would care about me. I don't know how many times I felt sad and helpless, but now, I know I still have my brother. But Grandpa is so cold-hearted. Then Yi Ling fell into Yi Mo's arms and started crying. Yi Mo patted Yi Ling's back and blamed himself. To be honest, he never thought of Yi Ling and how she was doing. As for what she did for him, he didn't know at all. If he wasn't trying to find Yi Zifeng this time, even if she was beaten to death, he wouldn't even know. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care at all. But now, he understood that there was something in this world called feelings, kinship. Yi Ling looked down on him, but still did many things for him quietly in her own way for no other reason but him being her brother. Just for that kinship. As for Yi Mo, he came to Beijing only because someone owed him money and also because he was going to help treat a friend's son. Even Yi Zifeng, he only thought of visiting him after getting here. Now, he understood that for someone like him who seemed no one knew and cared in this world, at least he still had a sister who cared about him. For the first time, Yi Mo felt some warmth at the bottom of his heart, making him lose himself in thought. After a while, he said in a self-blaming tone, Sorry, Yi Ling. I never thought about you and made you suffer so much. Yi Ling suddenly said in a happy tone, Brother, then if something good happens from now on, you need to remember me. In fact, I'm really happy to see you so strong and capable. Dad must be happier. Although I didn't achieve it, but Dad's last wishes came true. After second brother comes back, we will move out together. I won't stay in Beijing anymore. I don't like it here. Then, Yiling suddenly thought of something. She immediately said, Brother, then big uncle saying that you are naturally impotent must be fake, right? I knew it. If Tian he didn't tell me yesterday, I would have thought it was true. They really are bad to the bone. Yimo touched his nose in a fit of awkwardness. He thought against it, but the results were indeed correct. He didn't want to talk about this topic with Yiling. Brother, why are you being shy? You're already at this age. Okay, I'll save your face and won't talk about it. I feel really energetic. It's night already, so I'll invite you to a good meal tomorrow. Yiling laughed. She didn't think Yimo would be this shy. Her dorm mates were so much more open. This time, their talk was much more intimate than last night. After this, Yimo and Yiling felt the care they had for each other. Their originally distant relationship became closer. Brother, I'm going to take a shower and sleep. I'm going to invite my dorm mates tomorrow for food. We'll go together. You can sleep in second brother's room. Yiling wanted to shower and sleep. Although she had recovered, she still felt tired soon. Yimo, on the other hand, gathered those few ores and prepared to make a storage ring that night and a protective amulet for Yiling. He didn't want Yiling to undergo such torture again. If one were to compare intel capabilities, not many powers could exceed the Song family. Other than the government, the Song family intel could be ranked in the top 3. If one were to compare intel capabilities, not many powers could exceed the Song family. Other than the government, the Song family intel could be ranked in the top 3. The Song family knew what happened at the Yi family that same night, and they held another family meeting in the middle of the night. The Song family had never had such frequent family meetings, but now, all the Song family people knew it was because of Yimo. Even Song Yi was carried in, but the injuries he received were much more severe than Song Xiaoqin. Song Qiming looked coldly at Song Yi and said, Song Yi disregarded the Song family's rules and challenged Yimo on his own. Leave Beijing tomorrow and go elsewhere. Without my order, you are not to return to Beijing again. Song Qiming showed his calm and resolute decision-making that was no less than Yi Beirong's. Hearing that he was not allowed in Beijing, Song Wai's face immediately became pale and quickly said, Big uncle, I didn't know he was Yimo at the time. Song Qiming didn't even talk but had a very angry face. Song Yi's heart immediately sunk down. Before he could say more, he was carried out. Song Qiming then said, Song Yi said he didn't know it was Yimo, but if he wasn't so cocky, how could such thing happen? Our Song family isn't scared of Yimo, and we will eventually deal with him, but not now. So if anyone makes Song Yi's mistake, then don't blame me. Song Hai, report the news you received from Sinai Peninsula last night. No one dared to talk. If they spoke now, it would anger the family leader. Even with Song Wai's direct lineage, he was sent away so easily. Who dared to disobey the rules now? In addition, even the leader's own son was killed by Yimo. So it could be said that no one wanted to kill Yimo more than Song Qiming. If he could endure it, who didn't dare to? They could only say that Song Yi was unlucky or his arrogance brought him bad luck. Song Qiming indeed felt depressed. He wanted to wait till Hu Qiu's master came back before making a move on Yimo, but now it seemed to be insufficient. Song Hai stood up and said, According to the news I received from Sinai Peninsula, Yimo went to Sinai Peninsula and killed Qianlong Tu in front of Nanqing's #1 strongest man, Wu Chong. It is said that Lang Ji controls Nanqing now, and it is said that Lang Ji is working for Yimo. This news is not yet confirmed, but another news is that Lang Ji's position isn't stable yet and was heavily injured in a conflict. He is yet to solidify his position as #1 in Nanqing. Then, Song Hai paused and continued. Although Yimo killed Qianlong Tu, he didn't interfere with Nanqing's internal business and left Sinai Peninsula straight away. After Song Hai finished speaking, the room fell into a choking silence, and Song Qiming's face grew worse and worse. All the people here were the elite of the Song family. There was no one who didn't know about Nanqing, and Yimo had actually charged into the Nanqing headquarters by himself and killed Qianlongtu straight away. It was something that people wouldn't even imagine. There were more than 2,000 troops in Nanqing headquarters, but Yimo came and went as he pleased. How much people did the Song family have? The only advantage they had was that they were a big, powerful family of Beijing and was situated in the nation's power center. Yimo was not arrogant enough to take on a country now, and that's why the Song family was fine till now. No wonder the family leader said more than once not to mess with Yimo. Even after a few members were killed, he still didn't dare to mess with him. This was impossible before. Who didn't know the Song family's arrogance in Beijing? Even if they suffered a minor loss, the Song family would take full revenge. Now that the Song family suffered so heavily again and again, they could still manage to endure it. Although he had Song Hai's report once before, Song Qiming still couldn't help but to feel shocked. Yimo was no longer someone that could be dealt with by numbers. There must be someone as strong as him. Other than the hidden sects, perhaps no one could do anything to him. At the same time, Song Qiming felt lucky that he made the order not to mess with Yimo otherwise. If he pissed off Yimo, it would really be hard to say if the Song family would still exist. This was the reason why he was so angry at Song Yi. Although the Song family was an extremely large family, as the leader of the family, he needed to be very careful and not be impulsive. If Yimo could rampage in the Yi family, then so could he at the Song family. Song Qiming calmed his feelings before saying, "Song Hai, tell us about what happened at the Yi family last night." Yes, because Yimo's sister, Yi Ling, stole the feng shui Dragon Balls, she was punished. Yimo went to the Yi family and saved Yi Ling. At the same time, he cut off Yi Wensai's left hand. The reason was because he choked Yi Ling's neck. Moreover, the two people who whipped Yi Ling suddenly died not long after Yimo left. There's another unconfirmed news, and that's Huang Yu from the hidden sects had his wrists broken and had one leg severed by Yimo. Song Hai felt fear even after saying it himself. Yimo could make someone suddenly die after he left. This was too scary. He looked at the lost Song family people and sighed before saying, "These news weren't what shocked me the most. What makes me unwilling to believe was that last night, there was Nanqing people who went to the Yi family. They were told to F***ck off by Yimo, and they left in a hurry, not daring to say anything. It seemed that Nanqing might be really afraid of Yimo." Another news was that last night, the Flying Eagle squad members also went to the Yi family, but 3 Flying Snow squad members were also very respectful to Yimo. In other words, Yimo is now good on both sides. Even the Flying Special Ops Forces are reverent to him. It could be seen that we really shouldn't take him head-on. After reporting this, the entire meeting room fell silent. After a long time, Song Qishan said, "Yimo definitely isn't someone who can be conquered by numbers. My idea is that we not only shouldn't mess with him, but should instead get close to him." Song Qiming waved his hand. "No need, we can't coexist with him, and he wouldn't pay attention to us. But we can't mess with him now. Song Hai, try to get close to some hidden sect masters at all costs. At least tertiary stage of black level or even earth level." "Yes," Song Hai replied immediately. Song Hai did things cleanly and swiftly, and Song Qiming was very satisfied about this. Yimo spent a night's time and made a storage ring with a 3 cubic meter storage space. His power was too low now, so he could only make something that big. He carefully put the remaining space abyssal rock in his storage ring. That black jade was forged into 2 jade necklaces amulets by Yimo. The jade necklace had some attacking abilities, but was mainly for defense. Because the material was expensive, Yimo was not stingy on his cultivation chi in making it. The 2 amulets he made had permanent effect, but each time after use, its power would weaken a little. However, after a long time of not using it, it would gradually recharge. The reason was because Yimo's power was too low right now. If he wasn't really interested in concocting pills and forging artifacts before, he probably wouldn't even be able to create such an effect. It was like how he made runic papers. It would take him a few days to make a SOSO runic paper. After wearing the storage ring, Yimo finally felt relieved a lot. This was so much more convenient than carrying a big bag. The only thing was that this storage space was too small. Yiling packed everything up and intentionally wore a pretty dress before realizing that Yimo still hadn't come out. It was already past 9 a.m. Just when she wanted to knock, Yimo opened the door and came out. He seemed very fatigued. Brother, what's wrong? Yiling was shocked. Could yesterday's battle left some internal injuries? Yimo smiled and said, Nothing. I made a defense amulet for you. Wear it on you from now on, and don't take it off casually. Then, he gave the amulet to Yiling. The chain was made with a few materials. It had a warm, serene, and comfortable feeling when held in hand. Yiling took over the necklace with joy and exclaimed, Brother, this necklace is really pretty. How did you make it? Did you make it with hand? Then before Yimo replied, she wore it straight away. As soon as she did, she felt a cool sensation surge up in her heart. Brother, I didn't know you had this skill. You can make a living with just this? Yimo speechlessly looked at Yiling. Although he couldn't starve to death from selling this, but could it be sold on a large scale? Brother, did you not sleep the last night to make this? Yiling suddenly thought of Yimo's fatigued expression and asked. Yimo subconsciously said, I'm afraid you'll be in danger again when I'm not around you, so I made this protective amulet for you. You must not take it off, do you understand? Yiling's eyes went red as she reached out and hugged Yimo. It's so good to have a brother. Seeing Yiling so happy, so was Yimo. He immediately said, In fact, I made two. I still have another here, brother. Who's the other one for? Is it for your girlfriend? Brother, do you have a girl Riend? Tell me quick. I must see if she's worth my brother. Yiling spat out a series of words like fireworks, making Yimo not know which one to answer. However, he was also dazed. When he made them last night, he just made two. Who was the other one for? Luo Susu? A name suddenly jumped out of Yimo's brain, making him lost in thought. Rate translation quality 6 comments. Join in Google Tag. Command push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter, add 154, After Zhuaigua had been on the phone with Yimo, his family hurried to Beijing the next day. Yimo kept his promise and came to Beijing, so there was no way he would let this chance slip. He even regret leaving the country at the wrong time, but on the second night, he and his family still timely arrived at Beijing on time. After Zhuaigua had been on the phone with Yimo, his family hurried to Beijing the next day. Yimo kept his promise and came to Beijing, so there was no way he would let this chance slip. He even regret leaving the country at the wrong time, but on the second night, he and his family still timely arrived at Beijing on time. Just when they left the airport, Zhuaigua called Yimo, but what made him worried was that Yimo's phone was shut. Due to Zhua Huadong's condition, both he and his wife felt sorry for their son, so they took him to America to relax. Originally, when Zhuaigua saw Yimo, Yimo told him he would come to Beijing within a year and help him treat his son, but it had only been a few months and there was no news from Yimo at all. Although Zhuaigua trusted Yimo to a great deal, his wife didn't believe so. It was because Zhuaigua gave something away which was used to treat his son, and because of this, she had many fights with Zhuaigua. They were fighting to the stage of divorce, and going abroad this time was also to ease up the tension in their relationship. They didn't expect to arrive in America for just a few days, and Yimo would call them. Of course, Zhuaigua and his wife returned without hesitation. Didn't you say that doctor will be waiting for us? Why is his phone off now? Being unable to reach Yimo once they came back to Beijing, Zhuaigua's wife couldn't help but to feel more uncomfortable. Zhuaigua sighed. He could understand his wife's feeling, but Yimo was someone magical. How could that person go back on his words? He didn't bother explaining this to his wife, though. Some things, the more one explained, the more complicated it became. Their originally excited mood became dejected after the family was unable to reach Yimo Kaiqing, Zhuaigua's wife, reproached Zhuaigua a few sentences and no longer had the mood to argue with him. The family went back to their home silently. When they opened the door, they saw Zhua Yangqing sitting in the living room in a very distressed manner. What are you doing, Yangqing? Zhuaigua curiously asked Zhua Yangqing. She seemed to be acting erratic today. Normally, whenever Zhuaigua returned from a trip, especially overseas, the first thing she would ask was what he brought back for her. She wouldn't be acting like she was today. Zhua Yangqing said, I originally found that doctor who treated Grandpa's disease, but I was interrupted by a bastard. You found that doctor? Where was he? Kai Qing immediately exclaimed with joy. In her eyes, that doctor who treated her big uncle was much more better than the one Zhua Igua met at Flowing Snake. I don't know where he is now either. If it wasn't for Qin Sun, that bastard, perhaps I would have brought him back. If I'm to see him again, I wouldn't let him go even if he went to the toilet, Zhua Yangqing dejectedly said. Yangqing, you're a girl. Don't be so rude. Although Zhua Igua believed that the doctor who treated his big uncle must be very skilled, but he still had great faith in Yimo. Seeing that Kai Qing was disappointed, she quickly said, Third aunt, don't worry. I know who his sister is. I can definitely find him. Who? This time, Zhua Igua and his wife asked at the same time. It's Yiling from my school. That doctor is called Yimo. You must know him. He was the one kicked out by the Yi family. At first, I couldn't believe it too, but after talking with him for 10 minutes, I knew it was him, Zhua Yangqing said without noticing Zhua Igua's expression. What? Zhua Yangqing saw her third uncle's mouth wide open in shock. Zhua Igua patted his head and said, It seems that they are probably the same person. The doctor I was looking for is also Yimo. I don't think there can be two Yimo appearing at the same place and both be skilled medically. Yimo also had a shower and changed into casual clothes that Yiling bought for him. After wearing so, he seemed much better looking. Yiling circled Yimo around a few times and complimented, Brother, I didn't think you would look so handsome after changing you into a famous brand. If the girls in my dorm saw you, they would probably devour you to the bones. That Ning Qingxue really don't what's good for her. How dare she kick away my brother who is so handsome? Hearing Yiling talk about Ning Qingxue, Yimo suddenly thought of that day after following Black Snake. He didn't even go see Qi Wanqing and Ning Qingxue. He probably should have done so now that he thought about it. But just thinking that Ning Qingxue might have caught some feelings for him, Yimo felt a fit of helplessness. Ning Qingxue was indeed an excellent girl. Other than the initial princess syndrome, she changed a lot after living with him for nearly a month. From using her body to protect the silver heart grass, preparing the suicidal recording and following him to Flowing Snake and the desert. Perhaps she only thought it was out of guilt, but Yimo knew that it was far more than guilt. Although Yimo knew that she really need not be guilty, but he couldn't explain this to her. At least, she was an emotional person. Although she didn't see the holistic view sometimes, she was kind-hearted. Once she was set on something, she was very stubborn. Thinking about this, Yimo felt he had overdone it. Although he didn't dare to stay together with Ning Qingxue in the desert, she still came all that far to the desert just to see him. Meanwhile, he just left. Did this mean he didn't dare to face her? It was impossible to say that he wasn't a little bit interested in Ning Qingxue at all, but why didn't he dare to accept her? Yimo asked himself but immediately, and he suddenly thought of Luo Ying. But why did he have some faint feelings for Luo Susu? Was it just because she was named Luo and gave him a feeling of Luoing? Yimo shook his head. He understood that his feelings for Luo Susu was completely because of that accidental touch, or because they had each other's blood in their bodies, or perhaps they were the same type of people. Brother, what's wrong? Yiling felt Yimo was lost in thought and asked. Yimo shook his head and said, Ning Qingxue is actually a good girl. Don't talk about her like that. She doesn't owe me anything and... Yimo didn't continue. Yiling looked at Yimo in shock and said, Brother, are you really in love with her? In fact, I feel she's a match for you, but she didn't say. Ning Qingxue looked down on him. Seeing that Yimo had some things in his heart, Yiling quickly pulled Yimo's hand and said, Brother, if you like her, then chase her. She's not someone that's significant. We'll go eat first. I already invited the people from my dorm, so they should be out. Let's go. Without letting Yimo argue, she dragged him out. But before choosing a place to eat, Tianhe and the others saw that Yimo seemed different from yesterday. The main reason was he was packaged by Yiling. Yimo was helpless with the girl's audacity, and eventually, Yiling could only helpless step in to stop them. After lunch, Yimo really couldn't handle their enthusiasm and told Yiling he had some business with his friends, and told her to quickly deal with the things here and leave with him for Luozong. After Yimo had been gone for a long time, Yiling and the others went back to their dorm. At this time, Tian he was still asking Yiling. Lingzi, you sure he's your brother? Yimo, your biological brother? Dan and Lu all had boyfriends, so they could only watch Tian he being curious and jealousy. Yiling said in a not-so-satisfied tone, change your temperament first. My brother likes woman like Ning Qingxue. I don't think you have much of a chance. Ning Qingxue? Sigh, the opponent is too strong. Tian he gave off a long sigh and hugged her blanket into sleep. After Yimo left those people, he bought a set of silver needles but didn't call Zhuaigua. He knew that Zhuaigua must have came back yesterday, so he planned to just go straight to his house. What Yimo didn't expect was that it was Zhuo Yangqing who opened the door. But soon, he realized that both of them had the same surname, and in addition, didn't he meet her last yesterday as well? Huh. When Zhuo Yangqing saw it was Yimo standing at the door, it was only 0.01 seconds before she grabbed Yimo's arm and said, you must not leave this time. A ball of softness stuck to Yimo's arm. Yimo coughed. Hey, let go. You're letting me take advantage of you. Zhuo Yangqing's face only slightly blushed as she immediately said, you said you would wait for the day before yesterday, but why did you leave? If I let go, what if you leave again? Yimo helplessly said, I came especially for Zhuaigua. How could I leave? At this moment, Zhuaigua had come out and saw Yimo standing at the door. He immediately came up with a face full of joy and surprise. Brother Yi, you really came. Quick, come in. Yangqing, why are you still holding his arm? Quickly go make Uncle Yimo some tea. What? Uncle Yimo? Zhuo Yangqing understood that Yimo indeed came for her third uncle, but what made her depressed was that Yimo was only 2 or 3 years older than her. How did he become her uncle? Rate translation quality 1 comments join in Google Tag. Command push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter, add 155, Zhuo Yangqing helped Yimo make some tea and circled once around Yimo before saying, Dr. Yi, how come I feel you're so much more handsome today? Right? You really look different wearing expensive brands. Oh, and I heard Ning Qingxue married with you again. Is this real or fake? Zhuo Yangqing helped Yimo make some tea and circled once around Yimo before saying, Dr. Yi, how come I feel you're so much more handsome today? Right? You really look different wearing expensive brands. Oh, and I heard Ning Qingxue married with you again. Is this real or fake? Yimo looked at Zhuo Yangqing speechlessly. He suddenly thought of Wang Ying. These two girls were really alike. The first time Yimo saw Zhuo Yangqing, he thought she was a girl that was too reserved, but now, it seemed that he must never really take that first impression. She was just saying how she wouldn't let him go. But now, she had already completely forgotten her purpose. Yangqing, you really don't know how to be more conservative. You're already 22, Zhuaigua said with unsatisfaction. Zhuo Yangqing poked out her tongue and quickly sat beside Yimo, just observing him but not saying anything. Kaiqing looked more nervous and didn't know what to do. Instead, she just kept giving her husband hints, but Zhuaigua, on the other hand, didn't seem to see it at all. Yimo saw it, however, and smiled. I'll have a look at the kid first. I still need to get back to Luotsang's. Brother Yi, you live in Luotsang now? Zhuaigua asked. Zhuo Yangqing worriedly said, Dr. Yi, you can't go. You still haven't looked at my grandpa's condition yet. It doesn't matter how much you charge. My aunt is at home, and she won't argue with the price like me. In Zhuo Yangqing's eyes, Yimo was a doctor that only looked at money. Yangqing, Zhuaigua unhappily said. Yimo waved his hand and said to Zhuo Yangqing, although I can treat your grandpa's disease, I'm missing some medicine. If I do have them, your grandpa can live for another 2 to 3 decades. If you want to treat him now without those medicine, he may live 10 years less. Seeing that Zhuo Yangqing was dazed, Yimo didn't bother with her and just went straight into Zhuo Huadong's room. Yimo carefully looked at his situation and his eyebrows began to frown more. Zhuo Huadong's condition was artificial. Who was it? Using such evil means against a child a few years old? There was a gust of qi in his head. For ancient martial arts cultivators, it was inner qi. It could be kept inside the human body to damage bodily functions. No wonder modern medicine couldn't diagnose it. Seeing Yimo frown, Joie Aiguo felt worried but didn't dare to ask, scared that he may interrupt Yimo's train of thought. If even Yimo didn't have a way, then only death awaited his son. Seeing Joie Aiguo worried, Yimo smiled and said, "Brother Joie, don't worry, your son's condition isn't hard for me. I can cure him in 20 to 30 minutes. Splat." Kai Ching's tub fell to the ground and water splashed everywhere. It had been 3 years, and it was the first time she heard someone say her child could be cured in 30 minutes. Even if Yimo was practicing medicine for the first time, she would still believe Yimo's words just because he said he could cure Huateng. "Brother Yi, are you being serious?" Shuaigua stuttered in excitement. Although he pretended he didn't care, his son was more important to him than anything else. Yimo nodded. "I didn't lie. I just have one question I want to ask you. When did this occur, and were there any abnormal symptoms before and after? And did you come into conflict with someone before Huatong's condition occurred?" "Conflict? No. Although I had some business opponents, I never got into conflict or enmity with anyone." "Brother Yi, are you saying Huatong's condition is?" Zhuaigua looked at Yimo in shock. Yimo's tone seemed to suggest that his son's disease was artificial and not natural. Yimo nodded. "It should be artificial. We'll talk about this after I cured him." Then, Yimo took a silver needle and stabbed it into Zhua Huadong's head and started to remove that sliver of inner qi. 10 minutes or so later, he had already removed it completely. Then, he used his qi to heal the inside of Huadong's head. After doing these, Yimo packed up the needles. He felt something different when he removed the qi. He wouldn't believe that people could leave marks or imprints on qi on this planet, but he had that feeling. He couldn't think of anything, so he brushed these thoughts aside. He believed that if he were to encounter this person, he could recognize him as soon as they fought. "Is our Huateng all right now?" Kai Ching couldn't care about the tub on the floor and asked worriedly. Yimo nodded. "He should be fine." At this moment, Zhua Huateng opened his eyes, looked at Zhua Aigua before looking at Kai Ching, and then said half-consciously, "Dad, Mum, why did I feel like I slept for a long time?" "Huateng, you're really okay." Hearing that Zhua Huateng could call Mum and Dad, Kai Ching rushed up with tears of joy and hugged her son. Zhua Aigua looked excitedly at his son. The thing they had been troubled with was finally resolved by Yimo in a little more than 10 minutes. Yimo became more and more mysterious in his eyes. He only felt joy and gratefulness. He knew that if he said more words of gratitude, it would not be good. Zhua Yangqing stood at the door and looked at Yimo in astonishment too. Yimo's technique today was much more advanced than the one he used to treat her grandpa. Zhua Huateng had been sick for 2 years, and no one could do anything about it, and he actually managed to cure it. He really was a magical doctor. She must keep tight eyes on him this time. "Huateng, tell Daddy, how did you fall asleep?" Zhua Aigua thought of Yimo's words and immediately asked. He was afraid his son would forget after time. Zhua Huateng thought a long while before saying, "I can't remember. I think there was an uncle who pressed his hand on my head and then I fell asleep. And there was also Pang Hu. Another uncle felt Pang Hu's head for a while and seemed to compare something. I can't remember anything else." "If you can't remember it, don't worry, Huateng. Sleep first." Zhua Aigua had understood that what Yimo said may be true. "I know that Pang Hu, he's Huadong's classmate and also seemed to have gotten sick and died. The same thing probably happened to him." Kai Ching said with fear. They didn't have any enmity with anyone, so why was someone trying to harm their son in such ways? And the Zhua family wasn't a small family in Beijing. Who actually had the audacity? Yimo knew these things were hard to explain. Although the couple tried to get him to stay, but he still said he was going to leave. He had a lot of things to do and didn't have time to stay here. However, Zhui Yangqing grabbed Yimo. "You must come and help my grandpa. Why don't you leave your number with me?" Seeing Zhui Yangqing's worried face and Zhua Aigua's hopeful face, Yimo left his number and wrote a recipe. He told Zhui Yangqing to gather the materials, and the next time he came to Beijing, he would come help her grandpa. Finally, Zhui Yangqing let go of Yimo reluctantly. Yimo returned to his place, and Yiling had been waiting for him for a long time. "Brother, when are we going to Luo Tsong?" Yiling hesitated and asked. Yimo looked curiously and Yiling and asked, "Do you still have something to do?" Yiling nodded. "I still have 2 months before I graduate. Can we go Luotsong 2 months later?" And today, second brother called me in the afternoon. He would come back in a few days and told me to wait for him. I believe he must have something. Seeing that Yimo remained silent, Yiling quickly said, "In the afternoon, Grandpa also called me." Grandpa had never called me before, and yet he apologized to us three. He said he wanted to have a good chat with us after second brother comes back. I don't know whether or not I should listen to him, but brother, if you don't think I should stay, then I will go to Luotsong with you immediately. I'll give second brother a call later. Yimo had begun to understand what Yi Beirong was thinking. He wanted to use his power through Yi Zifeng, but he didn't mind and thought that even if Yiling stayed in Beijing, the people from Yi family wouldn't dare to do anything to her. Plus, when he returned to Luotsong, he might have to go out once. Yiling didn't know anyone at Luotsong, and it might be hard for her. Thinking about this, Yimo nodded and said, "In that case, you can stay and wait until Zifeng comes back. If there's something, call me immediately. Give this bracelet to Zifeng. I'm going back to Luotsong today." Yimo said this because he knew that Yi Zifeng felt a great sense of belonging to the Yi family, and Yi Zifeng was probably a little more important than him in Yiling's heart. As such, he didn't try to persuade Yiling from staying. Although Yiling could only send Yimo on his way with reluctance, she really wanted to leave Beijing with Yimo. She hated this place, but a few days later, her second brother would come back. She was afraid that the Yi family would try to harm Yi Zifeng, so there were some things she needed to tell him. Yimo could realize that the Yi family was trying to use him through Yi Zifeng, but she couldn't. As soon as he went back to his place in Luotsong, he immediately felt something was wrong when he was still at a distance from the mansion. His spirit sense scanned in immediately. Rate translation quality, no comments. Be the first. Google tag. Command push, function, Google tag. Display. Chapter, add 156, E. The mansion was empty, and both Yu Eru and Lu Xiaojun were not there. If they were just both not there, then he would have thought they were out doing something. However, the scene in the yard made him furious. The mansion was empty, and both Yu Eru and Lu Xiaojun were not there. If they were just both not there, then he would have thought they were out doing something. However, the scene in the yard made him furious. The thing he cared about the most, the 10 or so budded silver heartgrass, were gone. There were messy digging marks everywhere. Obviously, they were dug away. Although they grew very slow here, countless times slower than Ninghai, but they still budded. Now, however, they were dug away. It was already very slow to cultivate here. If he didn't find that silver heartgrass, perhaps he wouldn't even be at stage 2 chi gathering, much less stage 3. The reason he could reach stage 3 was mostly because of that spirit well in the desert. Thus, silver heartgrass was Yimo's last hope. The silver heartgrass could be used for cultivators up to and below stage 6, but now, his hope were dug away in 3 days' time after he left. This wasn't all. He didn't know what happened to Yu Eru and Lu Xiaojun. Both of them knew how much he treasured the silver heartgrass and wouldn't allow other people to dig it away. Now that the grass had disappeared, what would have happened to them? Yimo was sure that even if the Song family people knew he lived here, they wouldn't dare to touch it, much less Nanqing people. Since this person could dig it away and not damage it, it meant that he knew its uses. Yimo wouldn't believe that there were cultivators here. He had done his research. Cultivators here only existed in legends. No one would believe it. However, ancient martial arts and special powers did exist here. Some special power owners could use cultivation like attacks, but those with special powers could only use one type of attack, unlike cultivators. Yimo had stayed an entire day at Flying Snow Squad in Zhangju, also introduced Yimo to the country's special powers squad. Their status was on par of that of Flying South Squad. Compared to Flying Snow Squad, they each had their merits, but in Yimo's eyes, these special powers were weaker than those ancient martial arts cultivators. Their attacks weren't sharp enough. The silver heartgrass was not only useful for Yimo, but also for people with special powers and ancient martial artists. Yimo, however, believed no one knew this, as silver heart grass needed to be concocted into pills with other ingredients before it would be of great help to them. But other than himself, he was yet to find anyone who could concoct pills. Yemo knew that this wasn't absolute. He only guessed that no one knew how to concoct pills here, but what if someone knew how to? The reality was that his silver heart grass was taken, but he didn't have any clue as to who did it. He could only blame himself for leaving in a rush that day, following the Nanqing people, and then going to Beijing after. He didn't even have time to set up a formation. It seemed that he needed to set one up for here. Just when Yemo wanted to go inside and look, Lu Xiaojun rushed here. Yemo felt relieved, since she was okay, and it meant Eru was fine too. "Master, you're back." Lu Xiaojun looked at Yemo with joy. Each time there was hardship, her master would appear. The last time Eru was taken away, this happened too. The moment she saw Yemo, she felt secure. What happened to Eru? Looking at Lu Xiaojun, he knew something must have happened to Eru. "The second day you left, someone came and said they wanted the grass you planted and wanted to buy it. Of course, Eru didn't allow it, so these people robbed them. Eru stopped them and had his arm broken. By the time I came back, they were still beating up Eru, so I immediately called the police. When the police came, these people had left," Lu Xiaojun said. Yemo immediately asked, "Where's Eru?" "He's still in the hospital. He should be fine." But when these people left, they told Eru that they would still be back, Lu Xiaojun said again. "To ask who planted these seeds, right?" Yemo's face sunk. How dare they think about his silver heart grass? These people really had guts. Since they know its use, it meant that they weren't ordinary people. Yemo wanted to see who they were.
Yes.
Lu Xiaojun lowered her head. She knew how important they were to her master, but she and Eru couldn't protect it. "You are not to blame for this. Go bring Eru back. He doesn't need to stay in the hospital anymore. We opened a clinic ourselves, so I will deal with the hospital things. I'm going out for a bit now, and I'll be back at night." He was going to buy some materials to set up a formation flag. Otherwise, he really didn't feel secure planting the silver heart grass seeds here. Who knew if he was still going to plant more spirit grass here? When Yemo came to the jade market, he knew that he couldn't buy a lot of the materials he needed, so he could only replace it with some jade and copper. He could refine some copper essence from copper, but that wasted too much energy. However, in order to set up the formation, it was necessary. After a long day, Yemo almost filled up his storage ring before preparing to go back. He lost more than half of the $600,000 he had just acquired. Just when he walked out of the jade market, he saw an anxious figure who seemed familiar. When the person turned around, he immediately recognized it was Yumiaodon. Not only was her face worried, but she also seemed fatigued from a long journey. Although she was still on the run the last time he saw her, but she still had her composure at that time. Today, he could only see a shabby woman, but her curvaceous body still showed that she was a woman. Yumiaodon obviously didn't see Yemo. She kept her head low as she went into a small shop. Yemo saw her take out some notes from her bag and bought a bread. "Girl, let's go. I'll invite you to something spicy." As soon as she walked out of the small shop, two youths stopped her. There were these hoodlums everywhere. As long as one moved aside, none of them really dared to do anything. However, Yumiaodon's face changed as she turned to run. The two little hoodlums were like dogs. As soon as they saw her run, they immediately chased. Usually when one met dogs, if one didn't run, then the dog wouldn't dare to do anything. However, if one did run, the dogs would immediately chase after them. What happened? Yemo looked at Yumiaodon, who ran towards him, and still asked. Although he helped Wu Shuiming more than the latter helped him, and that Wu Shuiming seemed to have changed, Yemo wasn't a heartless person. If he could casually help Yumiaodon, he didn't mind doing so. Huh. Yumiaodon saw Yemo, and her face showed expression of surprise and delight. She didn't even realize she dropped her bread on the ground. "Yemo, I finally found you." Yumiaodon sounded as though she was already looking for Yemo. "You came looking for me?" Yemo could tell that she was, but he felt it was weird. Even if Wu Shuiming needed something, he wouldn't send his girl to look for him. The two hoodlums saw that Yumiaodon knew Yemo and immediately tried to leave. However, Yemo spoke. "You two, come here." "What?" So what if we come? What do you dare to do to me? I'm from the Metal River, so what if I come? What can you do? The two hoodlums really came over, and one of them cockily spoke. They were hoodlums under Metal River. Emo looked at Yumiaodon with great intrigue. Her man was the authoritative figure of Metal River, but she was being chased by Metal River hoodlums. And when she saw these two hoodlums, she was obviously startled and tried to run. This didn't seem right. Yumiaodon seemed to want to say something, but Emo knew it wasn't the time to talk, so he went up and kicked each of the hoodlums on the ground to the point they couldn't even crawl up. Then, he said, "Nothing, just kicking you both. What are you going to do?" The two hoodlums knew that they met someone tough, so they didn't talk. The people around saw the two like this and all started laughing. When Emo brought Yumiaodon back, Lu Xiaojun had brought Yu Era back from the hospital. Both of them hadn't seen Emo bring back a woman before. Now that they saw this very appealing Yumiaodon, they immediately got the wrong idea. However, Yumiaodon's shabby look also made Lu Xiaozun very puzzled. "Xiaojun, this is Yumiaodon, a friend of mine. Take her to get some food and rest. I need to talk to her." Emo saw that Yumiaodon looked rather fatigued and knew that she didn't live very well recently and probably ran for her life here. After Emo treated Eru and asked him carefully, he understood their intentions. They did want to rob the silver heartgrass, but he didn't know how they knew he planted them. Was he followed when he came back from Sinai Peninsula? Emo believed it wouldn't be easy to follow him. "Eru, tell me what that person looked like." Emo, the leader, was in his 30s and looked very skinny and bleak, Eru described. This made Emo think of the bleak man he met at that Luotsang artifact social night. Could it be him? Rate translation quality 2 comments. Join in Google Tag. Command push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter, add 157, Yi. Yumiaodon ate some things and took a shower. She seemed much more vibrant afterwards. At least there was some ruddiness on her face. Yumiaodon ate some things and took a shower. She seemed much more vibrant afterwards. At least there was some ruddiness on her face. Looking at Yumiaodon, who sat opposite to him, although she was still curvaceous, her face still seemed much more fatigued compared to a few months ago. She seemed to want to say something, but without even asking her, he knew something must have happened to Wu Shuiming. If Yumiaodon wanted him to help Wu Shuiming, should he go? If he just came to Luotsang and was faced with this question, he would go for sure because Wu Xuming was a worthy friend. But now, he wasn't sure if he would go. Although he hadn't seen Wu Shuiming since leaving Jing City, he could feel that, through what happened last time, Wu Shuiming had changed. At least not a worthy friend anymore. "Shuiming changed a lot. I know what happened with you last time at Luotsang. I spoke to him about it, but he said women shouldn't be involved with these things. He even yelled at me. Later on, he lusted more for power, and I gradually felt like I didn't know him. He was no longer the person he was before. For more than once, I wanted to leave him, but I couldn't do it. I stayed back again and again." Yumiaodon didn't wait for Emo to ask and started talking. Seeing that Emo was listening but didn't say anything, Yumiaodon sighed and continued, "He changed so much that I felt he was a complete stranger. He even killed the people whom Metal Mountain sent to monitor him. It was at that time that I made up my mind to leave him." His lust for power finally caught Metal Mountain's attention, and he underestimated Metal Mountain. When Shuiming thought he had controlled most of the power in Metal River, Metal Mountain just spent a night and forced Shuiming into a struggle to survive. Yumiaodon suddenly wiped her eyes. Emo could see her body and hands were shaking. Yumiaodon didn't continue and took out a pack covered by paper and gave it to Emo before Shuiming left. He suddenly woke up and said, if things were to happen again, he wouldn't become big boss of Metal River and would take me far away from Metal River. He told me to give this to you. Then, Yumiaodon gave the package to Emo. She had completely calmed down. Emo took it. It felt heavy as though it were a metal slab. He frowned and said, "Shuiming passed away?" Yumiaodon nodded, stood up and said, "I've handed this to you now, I need to go." "Wait." Emo opened the bag, and there was a black metal slab inside. Why did Wu Shuiming give this to him? Seeing Emo's confused expression, Yumiaodon spoke. Shueming said you were practicing ancient martial arts, so this thing should be helpful to you. Yemo nodded and scanned the metal in his hands. Immediately, his face was full of shock. This was an otherworldly gung iron essence. How could there be such a thing on Earth? Where did Wu Shueming get this from? This was rare even in the cultivation realm, much less on Earth. It was the top-tier material for making flying swords. However, it was a little too small. Despite this had unimaginable worth in Yemo's hands. The materials he got from Hanzai Xin weren't even worth 0.1% of this combined. Immediately, Yemo understood Wu Shueming's intentions. That guy must have guessed that he was cultivating ancient martial arts, and that this material should be useful to him. He told Yu Miaodong to bring this to him, so Yemo knew Wu Shueming's intentions were rather clear. He wanted Yemo to save Yu Miaodong's life. With such a material, even if a cultivator were to touch Yu Miaodong, Yemo would try to think of ways to save her, much less a gang organization. Plus, Yemo was not a heartless person. I'm grateful for Brother Shueming's gift. You can stay at my place. Even the Heavenly Emperor wouldn't dare to touch you. As for Metal River, I never considered them a threat. Then, Yemo suddenly thought of something. Yu Miaodong intentionally escaped to Luotsong, which meant that she was chased here by the people from Metal River. Was his silver heart grass taken by them? If it was so, then it would be easy. He would annihilate Metal River from Luotsong. Hearing Yemo's words, Yu Miaodong couldn't help but to cry. She understood why Wu Shueming told her to bring this and find Yemo. In his eyes, only Yemo could save her life. Yemo wasn't even afraid of Qianlong too, so how could be scared of a mere metal mountain? Who are the people hunting you, do you know? Yu Miaodong stopped crying and thought a while before saying, one of them looks skinny, in his 30s. I saw him at a distance at the station. He looked bleak. That person was probably tracking me, so I followed a tour group and avoided him. Yemo immediately knew that the person Yu Miaodong and Yu Eru spoke of should be the same person. He remembered that bleak man who tried to fight over the space abyssal rock with him. It was quite possibly him. Since that man could tell space abyssal rock was good, he probably could tell that his silver heartgrass was good too. If he knew this would happen, he should have killed him at the social night and not just rob him. That meant this guy was working for Metal River? Last time, Lang Ji said that there was a rather strong master at Metal River who was going to break through. Was he talking about this man? But in Yemo's eyes, although that bleak man was strong, but he was not stronger than Lang Ji. Well, his eyes were really good though. Just from the gift Wu Shueming gave him, he would take over this matter, much less his silver heartgrass was stolen by the Metal River people. You can live here from now on. If you feel bored, learn some medicine with Lu Xiaojun and Yu Eru. I suspect that Metal River stole some of my things, so even if they didn't look for trouble with me, I would go find them. After I eradicate Metal River, you can go wherever you want. Yemo was certain that the bleak man was from Metal River. Even if he wasn't, he was related to them. In the following few days, Yemo used all his material to make a formation flag and formation plate and set up a defensive formation around the mansion. Then, he made another 3 bracelets and gave them to the 3. He told them that he set up defenses around the mansion and that they needed to wear the bracelet to go in and out. If there are patients, they must go through a certain entrance. Although Yu Miaodong was a bit dubious, Eru and Xiaojun believed Yemo deeply. In their hearts, anything Yemo said was right. Yemo waited another few days, and still no one came to the mansion. It seemed that the people who stole the silver heartgrass didn't mean what they said. However, Yiling called and told Yemo that her big uncle and fourth uncle were sent away by her grandpa. Now, it was still peaceful for her at Beijing. Since the Metal River people didn't come for him, Yemo didn't want to wait any longer. He still needed to go to Flowing Snake in some time and didn't have time to waste with them. Since they didn't come, he would go look for them. Su Jingwen hadn't been to a classmate reunion in 3 years. Today was the first time after her graduation that she participated in this. If the reunion didn't happen to be set in Ninghai, or if Xiao Lei didn't come as well, she really didn't want to go. Jingwen, everyone is waiting for you to come over quick. Su Jingwen just arrived and Xiao Lei's voice was immediately heard. No matter where Su Jingwen was, she seemed to be the center of attention. Soon, many students gathered around. Yeah, Jingwen, you have never been to a single reunion since graduation. Even Xiaolei is earlier than you when she came from Beijing. Another girl pulled Su Jingwen while speaking unhappily. Su Jingwen apologetically smiled. A few days ago, my mother was sick. I wasn't in the mood. Oh yeah, Jingwen, I heard Wang Ping say your mother was cured with runic paper. Is that true? You're not really telling me that there is such a magical thing in the world? The girl pulling her hand immediately asked in curiosity. Of course, I went with Jingwen to buy it that day. Wang Peng walked over. Su Jingwen frowned and thought. Wang Peng wasn't her classmate. Why was he here? As though seeing Su Jingwen's confusion, Xiaolei immediately whispered to Su Jingwen, Wang Peng is chasing after me, but I haven't been interested in men lately, so I told him I would go to a reunion. Didn't expect him to follow. Before Su Jingwen said anything, another person said, runic paper saving lives isn't completely unbelievable. I'll tell you guys something that you probably won't believe. A while ago, my cousin went to Luotsong for a magic artifact social night. Haha, magic artifact, doesn't this sound metaphysical? Indeed, Cheng Fei, tell us what happened with your cousin. Another male classmate said. Cheng Fei said, don't be hasty. I once again state that all I am about to say is true. My cousin spent 200K and bought a defense necklace. Then, she heard the stall owner say that his pills are very potent, so she spent another 200K and bought a beauty pill. Your cousin is really rich. That stall owner is probably a fraud. It's a real pity that this comedian isn't on the New Year's Eve show. I really don't know what to say about your cousin. Even if she's rich, she can't waste it like that. Another classmate interrupted. Rate translation quality 2 comments join in Google Tag. Command push, function, Google Tag. Display, chapter, add 158. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.